Okay, turns on me. Unbelievable.
Got a good run on him. Let's go. Let's do it now. Good job, David.
Oh, yellow, yellow, yellow. Still out there. Clear. Side low inside. What was that, man? Everybody, thank you so much. That was awesome.
St. Louis is one of the great sports towns in America, certainly for baseball with the Cardinals, and the 1.25-mile oval that has a great view of the Gateway Arch on the Illinois side of the Mississippi River is helping to make motorsports part of the local sporting landscape as well. The NTT IndyCar Series is back at Worldwide Technology Raceway and ready to sprint to the finish, starting with today's Bommarito Automotive Group 500. Welcome to IndyCar Live, presented by Liberty Mutual. And welcome back to IndyCar. We love the Olympics on NBC, but we're ready to go racing again. Thank you for joining us high atop the grandstands here at Worldwide Technology Raceway. Kevin Lee, Townsend Bell, James Hinchcliffe. So it's been a little while, it's been 3 weeks. How might that impact how drivers comport themselves?
Well, you would think the drivers would take some time to relax, chill out, maybe take their mind off of racing, but I think quite the opposite happens with a long break. I call it cage rage. It's a virus that develops and grows during these long breaks. There's 26 drivers that aren't leading this championship, and I believe most of them have come here tonight fired up with a heavy dose of aggro ready to go.
So James, since it's been 3 weeks since Toronto, let's go back to that one. Chance for the championship to really swing with two of the Ganassis in the title fight a little further back. And everybody was in play late in the race, and then this happened that shakes things up a little bit.
Yeah, it was such an up and down day for the championship contenders, Kev. Let's start with Pato O'Ward late in the race, running in the top 6, solid points, has this spin, and this accident just keeps getting worse. More cars come, 3 in a row, including Ferrucci, up and over into the fence. All drivers okay. On the restart, though, 2 more contenders, teammates at Penske, come together, 1 in the wall, 1 with a penalty. Not only does it drop them back, but that's 2 more spots for those Chip Ganassi racing cars, up to 3rd and 4th for Dixon and Palou from deep in the teens. Great damage limitation for both those drivers.
So now we have 5 to go in the championship. Alex Palou, Townsend, seems pretty well in charge, but does the schedule impact that?
Well, 5 races left, 5 weeks to go, but 4 of those races are ovals. Alex Palou, not the strongest driver. He's never won on an oval, but he's very strong. In fact, he's the best in the field, I believe, at risk mitigation. He knows how to nurse the points across the finish line at the end of the season.
Let's hear now from the championship leader, Alex Palou with Georgia Henneberry.
Yeah, Alex Palou, your championship points leader, going to roll off 16th due to a 9-position grid penalty for an engine change. And Alex, so far, what's your assessment of the weekend?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't help that we had the penalty, but we had to take it here due to mileage. So yeah, looking forward. The car's been good. We just need a little bit more speed in qualifying, but yesterday in final practice felt good. So let's see what we get today. I think it's going to be a lot more exciting than what some people expect, including ourselves, drivers. But yeah, looking forward. It's going to be a long race. Hopefully we get the lights at the end, and hopefully we can have a good day for the number 10.
You say you need just a little bit more speed, but we also know how important and how much it can change with strategy as well. What can we expect to see from the 10 car?
Yeah, normally here it's busy with strategies. I think everybody expects around 4-5 stops, so plenty of action. So yeah, I'll have full faith on the 10 car.
Alex Palou still in the hunt for his first oval win.
All right, Hinch, his average finish here is 12. How is he really feeling at this point about the championship?
Better, I think, than anyone else thinks. You know, I think he's actually quite confident coming into today. The car was good in practice, and remember, he doesn't have that first oval win, but in the last 17 oval races, he's got 14 top 10s. Only Pato O'Ward has more, and to your point, Townsend, he's proficient at these. He's really good at limiting the damage and still collecting those points, even at places that statistically aren't his strongest. So this guy's cool, calm, and collected. I don't think he's worried at all.
So we'll go through the full grid in a little bit, but let's look at the front. And the front 2 rows, what do we see there? We see 3 Penskes. And by the way, we see David Malukas, who's going to have a Penske association next year. That's one of the news and notes. He's going to AJ Foyt Racing coming up next year, and they have a technical alliance with Team Penske. So now let's hear from one of those championship leaders, starting the highest up in the field today, Will Power, is with Dylan Welch.
And he starts in the 4th position, trails Alex Palou in the championship by 49 points. But on a day where track position is going to be super important, you have that over Palou. So what's on offer today as far as the championship hunt and maybe closing in on that gap a little bit?
Yeah, it's tough to say because, you know, it's on the cusp of a 4-stop. Obviously, him being back there helps him save fuel. And then, you know, a yellow can just fall in an odd spot where you've got to make a decision whether you come or not. So it's always a little bit of a gamble when it's a track position race like this. But we'll do our absolute best and see what we can come up with.
What's going to be the biggest challenge today? There's some differences in downforce. The temperatures, obviously, we didn't really practice at this exact time of day. So how difficult is this going to be?
Man, it felt really nice last night. Obviously a lower track temp because the sun was down by that time, but I really hope a second lane comes in. I think that will make the racing great. We can go up, there's a lot of grip, but yeah, I felt like you could follow closer than ever last night. So we'll see how it all plays out.
All right, that's encouraging from Will Power, looking for his 3rd win of the year and 2nd straight on an oval.
Townsend, what do you make of Power's chances?
Well, I think he said it right there. I think he echoed what Alex Palou said earlier, which is a lot of the drivers are saying after last night's practice, you can race here at Gateway more so than they expected coming to this event. And for Will Power, 2nd in championship, nobody's been faster in terms of 1-lap speed here at Gateway than that guy with the 4 pole positions. He's going to be one to watch.
And then there's the 6-time champ, Scott Dixon, who has won 25 oval races, 11 on 1 1/3 or less tracks like we have in 4 of the 5 final races, and he's won twice here.
Scott, you will be the leader when this thing cycles out. Simple. Hold on. Work on that number, 880. Yeah, it's going to be pretty tough, right? Yeah, copy that, Scott. Do our best here.
All right, Pato, just to give you the state of play, we are P2. Our only threat is Scott Dixon, if he can make it on fuel or not.
Doing great on the number.
Back is P2.
Position 2, 22 seconds behind.
Checkered flag, car 9.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. That was awesome.
This team were perfect, man. They gave me the number I needed to be getting. How about that Honda mileage?
Scott Dixon did Scott Dixon today. When they were telling me on the radio, 9 cars trying to make it, he's gonna make it until the end. Yeah, Scott Dixon.
One of my favorite lines from last year was this weekend when Hinch, you said you're not going to out-Dixon Dixon when you're talking about strategy.
No, when it comes especially to fuel saving, and we talk about the strategies, look at this graphic here. Career wins starting worse than 10th. Scott Dixon has more than double any other driver in history, and guys, 3 of those 8 have come in his last 5 wins. So this guy is on peak form when it comes to strategy calls. A lot of those have come down to fuel saving, and that could very much be the state of play today.
All right, Scott Dixon is downstairs with Georgia.
Just a year ago today, Scott Dixon won this race by 22 seconds. Scott, how can you recreate such a dominant performance, especially with all the changes that IndyCar has implemented over the course of the year?
I'd quite happily do it by just 2 seconds. So we'll do our best. You know, we started off pretty rough here in the first practice. We kind of regrouped a little bit for qualifying, and you know, P10. All of the cars, you know, P7th or 10th, you know, we're kind of the best 2 that we had at the minute. But then taking the grid penalty with the engine, it's not always great. So starting P19 strategy is definitely going to have to be a key for us today. We'll just have to see how it plays out. The 4-stop is going to be quite hard to do, especially for the leaders in clean air. Will be tough, so fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Thanks, Scott.
Scott Dixon, 3rd in the championship, looking to tie A.J. Foyt with number 7 career. There's so much access at IndyCar races, and Worldwide Technology Raceway is among the best. The fans getting a chance to interact throughout the weekend, autograph sessions, and so much more. Young fans getting a chance to meet some of their heroes and some of the fastest drivers on the planet. And David Malukas has been a part of the storyline. He's quick again. We're going to have more on the 22-year-old from Chicago coming up. You're watching IndyCar Live, brought to you by Liberty Mutual Insurance. Only pay for what you need. Now is your chance to drive away with a new Corvette courtesy of Hy-Vee. All season, you've had a chance to enter for a chance to win one of 3 Corvettes. There's still 1 remaining. So grab your mobile device and scan the QR code on your screen to enter. A hot but beautiful day just outside St. Louis on the Illinois side of the Mississippi River. Kevin Lee, Townsend Bill, James Hinchcliffe, Georgia Henneberry and Dylan Welch on pit lane. Fans are gathered, getting set to go. 27 rocket ships are ready to go. And guys, we're about to see some oval racing, Hinch.
Super excited about it. It's been interesting practice so far. A lot of changes from last year, so a lot of learning to do still in this race.
All right, the command is not too far away. First, opening ceremonies from Worldwide Technology Raceway.
Fans, please rise and remove your hats as Pastor Dave McNeil from the Crossing Church in St. Louis offers this evening's invocation.
Our Heavenly Father, we humbly come before you now, thankful for the freedoms we experience in this great country, and for our military service members and their families who sacrifice so much to protect it. We ask that you watch over them, giving them strength and courage in all they do. We are grateful and ask that you bless every leader, employee, volunteer, vendor, sponsor, and all the first responders who have made this event possible. We thank you for the opportunity to witness the skill, professionalism, and strategic innovation of each IndyCar team represented here today. We ask that you watch over each driver, granting them wisdom, precision, and safety as they navigate the track. And knowing that your perfect love brings about peace, joy, and love in all of life's victories and challenges, I ask that each one here today and watching on TV would not only experience a fantastic race, but would experience your great love in a personal and specific way. And I pray all these things in the name of my Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Race fans, please remain standing as the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department Honor Guard presents our nation's colors. Here to honor America with the performance of our national anthem, please welcome Senior Airman Jesse Donovan from the United States Air Force Band of Mid-America.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Race fans, let's hear it one more time for Senior Airman Jesse Donovan.
Beautiful. We're about ready to go. Drivers are heading to their cars to climb in and get ready to go. So they're preparing to race. Just a few moments ago, Georgia Henneberry talked with Scott McLaughlin.
And some incredible stats for Scott McLaughlin. He's going to lead the field to green. 2021 fourth, 2022 third, 2023 fifth, and now he leads the field to green. Scott, this really seems like your place. You've led 405 laps around here, but when you lead the field to green, does that get you fired up for the race?
Yeah, it does. It does. G'day, boys. No, very excited with what we got. The Dixon Engine Chevys felt good all weekend, so I'm excited for what's ahead, and hopefully we can, finish the job.
405 laps led around Worldwide Technology Raceway. What can we expect to see from the start?
Hopefully 260 more laps led. We'll see.
Best of luck, Scott.
Well, Pato O'Ward has been so strong here in just about every single race that he's run. You see his stats there. Average finish of 2.6. But Pato, the thing that's missing from that is obviously a race win. So how do you take that extra step tonight and get that first win here at Worldwide Technology Raceway?
Oh, man. Well, I wish I knew exactly how to do that, but we have, like you said, we haven't won here. So we've been really close. I felt really, really good last night with the race car. So
I think we're gonna have a really good race, but you know IndyCar, anything can happen. You need things to fall into your way, and we need to take it lap by lap and see how we can maximize what we've got.
You were fastest in practice last night on single lap, 5 lap, and 10 lap averages, but that was at full nighttime. We're not going to have those same conditions today, so how much stock can you put into that speed from last night?
Well, usually it's a bit of a 50-50. I would say today, maybe the start of the race won't be like last night, but I think the end of the race will get to at least similar to what that was last night. So all we're hoping is that we're in the window starting the race, and then we'll just work on the car from there. But it just changes so much with all the rubber that's getting laid down. Is the second lane going to open up? Is it not going to open up? Is the strategy going to be very different to the years past? There's just a lot of unanswered questions that are going to be a challenge for everybody today.
Thanks, Pato.
Pato O'Ward has led all 5 of his races here. Will Power has led all 8 times he started. But Townsend, I want to talk about Scott McLaughlin starting on the pole again. He's 83 points back, 6th in the championship. Is he still in it?
He's still in it, but you can tell by the determination in those eyes, he knows he needs to be forceful at the start. Don't get chewed up by being conservative. He knows he needs wins to stay in the hunt. He's still, I'm sure, very disappointed about the way his teammate Will Power raced him at Toronto. He had the strong results at Iowa. Double podium there with that oval win. So he's going to be a force, but you got to take it. You got to go grab that ring when you're as far behind as Scott McLaughlin is right now.
David Malukas is going to be starting up front as well. We know Joseph Newgarden's the king of corn country. Maybe Malukas is on his way to become the maestro on the Mississippi. 2nd and 3rd here in IndyCar. He swept 2 Indy Lights races, and he secured himself a deal for next year.
Look, it's been a heck of a run here for David Malukas, and we looked at the exemplary track record that Pato O'Ward has, 2.6 average finish. This is the only guy in the field with a better average finish here at Worldwide Technology Raceway at 2.5, and you see even going back to his junior Formula career, never been off the podium, did it twice in a Dale Coyne racing car, super fast this weekend, starting outside of the front row. It's a good guy to put some money on.
Yeah, I talked to him about 30 minutes ago, and David just seemed calm, confident, and he's the least surprised person in the room at these results. He knows what he's capable of. He's feeling right at home.
So we're about ready to go. The command is coming up in just a moment. You're watching IndyCar Live, brought to you by Liberty Mutual Insurance. Only pay for what you need. This summer, we have been captivated by the skill, grace, speed, and power of the world's greatest athletes in Paris. Many of those same attributes apply to the fastest and most versatile drivers in the world. And from the Eiffel Tower, we meet in the shadows of one of America's enduring landmarks, the Gateway Arch in St. Louis. The Olympic break is over, and IndyCar is back to join the spotlight. With the championship heating up, the NTT IndyCar Series is also a showcase of speed, skill, and strategy. There are just 5 races remaining, and at least 5 international drivers are still thinking championship, including Mexico's Pato O'Ward, one of the most dynamic drivers in the sport. American Colton Herta from California, having his best season in 3 years. New Zealand's Scott Dixon in play for a record-tying 7th title. Will Power from Australia seeking a 3rd season crown. And Spaniard Alex Palou, who at 26 is already staking his claim as one of the sport's greats. It's nearly time for the Bommarito Automotive Group 500 from Worldwide Technology Raceway in St. Louis. Thank you for joining us this evening. Kevin Lee, Townsend Bell, James Hinchcliffe, Dylan Welch, and Georgia Henneberry. Drivers are strapped in. The atmosphere has been strong this weekend. The enthusiasm is high. We've got go-kart racing in the backdrop. And ready to finish the season with 4 of 5 on ovals starting tonight from the 1.25-mile challenge at Gateway. It's time for the command. Are you ready?
It's time to give the command for the Bommarito Automotive Group 500. Please welcome the president of Bommarito Automotive Group, John Bommarito.
On behalf of the Bommarito Automotive Group and over 1,000 team members here today, I want to personally welcome all the race fans in the audience today and YouTube sensation, the guys, as well as everybody watching from home. This is the Bommarito Automotive Group 500, one of the greatest shows on four wheels. Race fans, are you ready? After the race, don't forget, log on to Bommarito.com, where you can buy, sell, or trade your next vehicle. Let's get this party started. Drivers, start your engine!
Starting up.
Always one of the best uses of the time allotted to him every season, and John Bommarito deserves it because his group works hard to make this race successful. So does the track owner, Curtis Francois, former racer himself in Indy Lights, and the general manager, Chris Blair. Great to be back in St. Louis at Worldwide Technology Raceway. So many different stories. Let's head downstairs and we start with Dylan Welch.
David Malukas has finished second and third each of the last 2 years and starts outside the front row today and called this without a doubt his best shot at his first career IndyCar win. At a track that tests drivers and engineers with its unique shape, David thrives here by embracing a car that isn't always perfect, a challenge that he says is super rewarding when you get it right. He's got it right the last 2 years, Georgia. Now it's just about finding that extra little bit to reach the top step on the podium.
You're right about that, Dylan. And as they pull away, I have my eye on the driver who was your most recent race winner, Colton Herta. He's going to start all the way in the 25th position. But the good news is that he was second in the first practice session and he was third in the second practice session. So he has the speed. They got that car back together after a hit to the rear end and his second lap of qualifying yesterday. Everything is put back together and he knows that he has the speed. So if he wants to stay in championship contention, he has to work his way through the field right here at Worldwide Technology Raceway.
Down to it looked like Colton Herta might be able to flirt with the pole, certainly starting in the first couple of rows, but it all went wrong on the second lap.
Yeah, second lap of qualifying. Colton Herta sending it into turn one. On board here, back steps out. He corrects, lays into the throttle. Luckily, he got away with just rear attenuator damage, which was a miracle, frankly, but Georgia is right. This 26 Gainbridge car is going to be one to watch. We got an onboard camera with Colton Herta. I think he's going high, wide, and handsome early, and it's going to be a great shot as he tries to work his way through the field.
And you see a three-wide formation, a salute to the Indianapolis 500. That's on parade laps. They will line up 2 by 2, and here's a look at today's grid brought to you by Bommarito.
We've talked about the top 2 rows. Let's go back a little bit further. Kyle Kirkwood inside of row 3 alongside Grosjean. JHR having a very strong day. You see his teammate Connor Daly down there starting 9th, substituting now for the Augustine Canapino number 78 machine for the rest of the season.
Looking all the way back into the next group, thinking about the drivers that are in row 6, specifically Rinus VeeKay and Felix Rosenqvist. Rosenqvist qualified second, but had that 9-position grid penalty to take him all the way back to the 11th spot, so he'll be a little frustrated trying to make up ground that he rightfully earned before the engine penalty.
Those championship contenders of Chip Ganassi Racing, Palou and Dixon further down as we head towards the back of the field. Of course, Ed Carpenter back as we're back on the oval racetracks, and a tough day qualifying-wise for the RLL crew. You see Lundgaard down there in the inside of row 12, 23rd position. Colton Herta just behind him. Going to be a long day from there.
Honda presents our track preview. It's an oval. It's not the same. Each end is a little bit different, but Honda tells us what to look for, and Townsend, there are some unique aspects of conquering this place.
Yeah, this place is truly unique. Turns 1 and 2, a completely different radius banking than what you see down in 3 and 4. Turns 1 and 2 right here, super tight. You want to come in sort of late turn in, late apex, and try to unwind the wheel and square things off. And you've got a 2-stage pit exit here That's the second stage where those 2 shell cones are. 80 miles an hour on the apron, 45 down pit lane. That's what makes it unique, not just the shape, but that 2-stage pit exit is something the drivers have to deal with here that's unique.
11 degrees of banking in 1 and 2, 9 degrees of banking in 3 and 4, though if you were to ask the drivers from inside the cockpit, it feels like a much bigger differential. It feels so much more banked in 1 and 2 than 3 and 4. It's only a 2-degree difference, but that can make setup so challenging.
All right, we talked about this guy, Kevin, David Malukas in the 66, the Meyer Shank. Let's see if we can dial him up. Hey, David, it's Townsend Bell in the NBC booth. Do you copy? Seems like we've got some radio issues there, or else he's just fully focused on what he should be doing, which is getting ready to fire it off. This is his home state. It's his house here in Illinois. And he's had a little drama with Scott McLaughlin previously at this track. They had a pretty famous hip check when Malukas really put himself on the map as a young driver.
Getting a chance to see Catherine Legg more often, not just the Indianapolis 500 like we've seen the last 3 years. She made her first start at Iowa a few weeks ago, first start here at Gateway as well. And ELF, the beauty company that stands with every eye, lip, and face, is empowering legendary females like Catherine, the only female driver on the track today. A good chance, nothing confirmed, but we may see her in the final oval races this season. So we have 13 onboard views that are fantastic, including this one. We're going to want to see what he does at the start. Fast car from the back.
I love this nose cam that we're seeing, courtesy of Hy-Vee from Christian Lundgaard. That shows you how low and fast it can be, and there's going to be some great passes up high in that second lane tonight, Townsend.
Here's Nolan Siegel looking back at the helmet. We'll really get to appreciate the G-forces from that view. And then Scott Dixon with the PNC bank camera will be listening for massive fuel save aboard the Master there with Dixon.
Graham Rahal is the Code 3 Associates car. Another look at Alexander Rossi as they are lined up beautifully 2 by 2. Well, fans want more ovals. We got it. 4 of the final 5. It's going to determine the 2024 champion. Back in St. Louis at Worldwide Technology Raceway. You've got fast cars from the back, championship contenders in the middle, Penske's up front. Here we go! Green from Gateway, and Scott McLaughlin in the red and white car has the early jump.
McLaughlin looking great up front, and it's Newgarden and Will Power teammates side by side as Power goes to the high side.
All clean through 1 and 2 as they funnel down the back straight. Easy for McLaughlin in, but side by side further back, that's the pink, white, and black machine of Kyle Kirkwood on the bottom. Pato O'Ward riding up top in the black and orange McLaren.
McLaughlin leads the first lap. Challenge right now for seconds. And Will Power has moved up to second. Colton Herta, by the way, has already picked up 6 spots on 1 lap.
Marcus Armstrong side by side with Ericsson as Newgarden popping out now, and Roman Grosjean, he's going to get that move done into turn 3.
So it is a forceful display of performance from Team Penske as we're on board with Colton Herta going to the high side on Graham Rahal. He's going forward in a hurry.
Graham's got the draft of that McLaren, I believe, of Rossi up front, or no, Nolan Siegel. He's going to try to make the high line work. Graham had a bit of a later turn in. That gets Dixon up into the mix, but a great run off of 2. Does he have enough to make a move into 3?
Trying to go down on the low side, already up to 19th. 1 more spot just like that. Colton Herta is moving forward. Remember, he is in championship mix. He won the most recent race, his first in 2 years, 3 weeks ago at Toronto.
Let's take a look at how Colton Herta handles the start from the back. Just listen. Oh! That was so close, 4 wide, but he still wants more.
Normally at this phase, when you're this far back, you want to be up high, a little bit cleaner air. He gets boxed in down low, but still gets a great run off of 2 in that dirty air. Let's see what he does into 3, following Nolan Siegel in high. That's Pietro Fittipaldi down on the inside. Going to clear him and carry that momentum around the outside of 3 and 4. That could have so easily been a disaster on the front straight, T-Bell. They were 4 wide at one point.
Yeah, I mean, it's just blind faith at that point. You just had to roll the dice, and I think Colton Herta knows he does not want to hang out at the back for long. He's got a very fast race car, as Malukas getting challenged right there by Pato Award. Award with a big downshift down to third gear.
I think he accidentally maybe went down to second on that one. Ericsson.
That was Kyle Kirkwood, my correction, not Malukas, and the other AutoNation car out there.
The Andretti Global cars have been very strong this weekend. Ericsson currently running fifth, and he was looking at the inside of the master at Gateway. Joseph Newgarden, who's a four-time winner here, is side-by-side still. Kirkwood and Grosjean off of two.
Grosjean looking racy, sixth right now as he gets the pass done on Kirkwood, but he's going to try to go back right around the right side by side. Kirkwood, and they almost touched.
They did touch. I saw a puff of smoke there. Meanwhile, Joseph Newgarden was making a move on Malukas, trying to make it a Penske 1-2-3, but here comes Malukas back.
Back to second around Will Power, splitting up the Penske's.
And that's Ericsson around the outside of Newgarden, side by side. Absolutely nothing between them. Great move from Ericsson. Newgarden kind of balked on the inside there on that low lane, and the caution is out.
Catherine Legg and Ed Carpenter. Rear wing damage to the number 20 of Ed Carpenter.
And this might be a blessing in disguise for Romain Grosjean. That hit with Kirkwood, you heard a radio transmission
left
saying,
rear,
watch out for left rear.
The wall.
These first 8+ laps have been frantic. We might be in store for big-time entertainment tonight. Unfortunately, two casualties.
Everything feels straight so far.
That's Ed Carpenter. He thinks he might be okay. And the AMR safety team is out there.
I don't know what it was with the wall, Ed.
To attend to Catherine Legg. So we'll get a reset coming up in just a moment. As we head to break, let's watch Colton Herta do his thing again here at the start. Stay with us from Worldwide Technology Raceway. You're watching NBC Sports coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by Bommarito Automotive Group. For all your automotive needs, visit Bommarito.com. Hy-Vee this racing season helped Hy-Vee reach their goal of 100 million meals by visiting Hy-Vee.com. And by NTT, official sponsor and technology partner of the NTT IndyCar Series. Under caution, a Worldwide Technology Raceway in the Bommarito Automotive Group 500. Catherine Legg and Ed Carpenter came together. Carpenter rolling through pit lane. He said the car's okay. Here's what happened.
Not sure what led up to this, James, but it looked like Ed thought he was clear of Catherine, maybe making a pass to the outside, I'm not sure, but somehow the 51 and the 20 get together, front right corner to left rear as Ed comes to pit lane. He did have rear wing damage, but then this got close. Look at Scott Dixon low.
Whoa. The men and women on pit lane, they are some of the bravest people in motorsports, standing there as a three-wide action in a two-lane racetrack. Dixon having to do the right thing, get out of the gas, fall in behind the other two cars.
So 19th on back came in to top off. Linus Lundqvist, the highest runner there, included Scott Dixon, Alexander Rossi, and Grant Rahal. Going back to green again, it's still McLaughlin. Then David Malukas, Will Power, Marcus Ericsson, who's moving up the fourth, and Joseph Newgarden. Three wide a little further back.
I think that was Kyle Kirkwood in the middle of that three wide, smartly got out of it. That rarely works out for the guy in the middle, but Colton Herta on the charge as well as side by side Kirkwood, and it's that Marcus Armstrong off of two.
It's a different look for Marcus Armstrong. He's in a red and white American Legion car.
And there's Palou, your championship leader, in that white, blue, and yellow machine side by side with the Juncos Hollander Racing entry of Connor Daly, who's a master at this track as well, as always run strong here. Grosjean on the high side.
Grosjean making another move to the outside there, looking very comfortable. Remember, this is where he made his oval debut after so many years road racing in Formula One, and he was spectacular on that day.
Pato Award took a look at Joseph Newgarden, can't get it done. Meanwhile, Will Power is going around the outside, and David Malukas is in front. David Malukas, the 22-year-old from Chicago, is leading this race.
Something happened to Scotty Mack as Power and Malukas pull away, and here comes Newgarden. Oh! Is that Daly or is that Grosjean?
It's Connor Daly.
Maybe right turn, I don't know.
Making his debut with Hucos Hollinger Racing, his 11th IndyCar team, announced this week he is replacing Augustine Canapino.
I think we're okay. I don't know, though.
For the rest of the season.
I got hit pretty.
That's looks surprisingly together for a car that's just done a 360 off of 2. We also saw Kyle Kirkwood dive to pit lane. Maybe an issue there with the 27. We'll get back to that, but I think there was maybe contact between the teammates. Oh, you see the front wing damage.
Oh.
He must have got into Daly as he was spinning, or maybe one of the cars in front as they checked up. Everything happened so fast. Oh, suspension
Emergency
damage.
service only, okay? We can only change a tire if it's flat, okay? 2 seconds of fuel max.
Brian Hurd is saying that on the radio. Emergency service only. That's because the pits are closed immediately on a yellow flag deployment. So this is entering a closed pit. Need to make sure there's no immediate threat to the safety of the car being on the racetrack. Checking the suspension, checking the tires. And Malukas holding on to the lead after some big pressure from Will Power.
Kirkwood was running 7th, by the way. Here is how David Malukas got the lead from Scott McLaughlin.
McLaughlin looks like he was saving fuel, guys.
I was going to say, if they just decided that, okay, we know what kind of fuel burn we have to try to make this on 4 stops. Meanwhile, further back, I think this is what led to the issue. Rinus VK getting crossed up, and then Grosjean gets into the back of Connor Daly.
Kirkwood gets in the back of Kirkwood, who gets into the back of Connor Daly. So bigger damage, I think, to the 27 and the 77 than actually of the 78 of Daly.
Right. Yeah.
So you see the front wing completely folded under on the 77 of Grosjean.
But it all starts with the green car, Rinus VK, getting loose off of 2. Watch the green car 2 ahead.
1 back, Roman, check up.
Yeah, it's a good clip of the wall for Kirkwood. You see the steering wheel immediately go left-hand down. That means big damage. The right rear got in there, and same to the 77.
Just so rough for Hucos Hollinger, both cars with contact.
And you just saw Alex Palou sneak by on the bottom, getting around all that madness.
Along with Colton Herta, who's up to 10th.
Dylan, what do you know?
So the Team Penske cars are just operating under their normal plan to save some fuel. So we see this a lot at the Indianapolis 500. You don't always want to be out front leading because naturally you burn more fuel. So cars will swap positions at the front of the field, and that's exactly what Scott McLaughlin and Will Power did. Will volunteered under that last yellow, said, I can go up here and lead if you want, or at least get Scott out of the lead. That's what they did. Malukas is at the front. He's burned more fuel than both of these cars, I think, just listening to the other radio transmissions. But Power and McLaughlin just sticking to their fuel save plan.
Well, this is going to be a challenge for strategists because there's more downforce this year, so there's more fuel burn. There's a lot of options with these yellows.
Yeah, you hear him lift big and early. That's normally a flat-out entry into turn 3. He wanted Malukas to go by. He had to lift so much and slow down so much that afforded Power the opportunity to go around as well. And big damage, big repairs happening for Romain Grosjean.
Yeah, Grosjean just had nowhere to go to avoid the contact as the new front wing goes on. The mechanic is moving into the right front. Suspension damage there.
He's already lost the lead lap.
Yeah.
And 2 laps now. Daly is still on the lead lap, I think. He's rolling down pit lane now. How about Colton Herta? Plus 15 from 25th to 10th. Look at the gain bridge on board.
And listen to the clutch and coast. Saving mad fuel on the first stint. These guys are all going to try to do it in 4 stops.
And these yellows help
Target left.
I'll tell you what, before the race, you could tell in so many of these drivers' voices that the racing was going to be better than they thought. They were excited. They were a little bit anxious. They were maybe feeling up in the seat like there's opportunity. And now we're seeing the result of everybody kind of getting pulled into this racer mentality. They're not thinking, you know, from 3rd place back, James, not a lot of guys are thinking about fuel. They're thinking about track position now and making moves now.
And the best part is everybody knows the best time to make those moves is on restarts. So yes, you're going to have to try to save fuel, but up front, early on these restarts, you're going to have to attack and make some moves. Dylan.
And that is exactly what the plan was for the 26. Rob Edwards, the strategist, said, I don't know that we can race our way forward, so we're going to have to be very efficient with our passes. But they've been pretty efficient on fuel as well. They're not too far off of their target number. That's why you hear that coast, that clutch and coast here under yellow, just trying to get a little bit closer to that number for Herta once we go back green.
Verizon Frontline is the advanced network and technology for first responders. That's why Verizon recognized the service and bravery of local first responders with an honorary first lap with members of police departments and supporting agencies from Bond County, Breckenridge Hills, Cottleville, Ellisville, Kirkwood, Murrayville, Woodson, New Athens, St. Charles, St. Louis County, and more. Please join Verizon Frontline in thanking all first responders for all that they do. So everybody catch the breath, and let's get set to go again. We always know restarts are entertaining, but the action really hasn't stopped during the green flag racing.
Well, I've got to wonder if David Malukas is asking his race team, hey, are we doing the right thing here? Because Scotty Mack just let me by easy. What kind of fuel range are we on? And this is the point in the race where the strategists, the drivers, everybody's trying to game the system, frankly, like who's got the winning strategy, because you sort of have to make your bed early and commit to it.
Well, what's Dixon doing? I'm just going to do that. Whatever he's doing, I'm just going to go with that strategy. But no, for these guys up front, yes, fine, Malukas is at the point now, but I think like Indy, you're going to start seeing some of that back and forth, some of that kind of synchronized passing, that choreography on the racetrack.
And if you've watched Worldwide Technology races in the past, you might be wondering, well, what's so different? It's all the additional downforce that IndyCar's put as the mandated spec for this race. High downforce means high drag. You're burning a lot more fuel, so it changes strategy a lot.
Romain Grosjean got back out. He's 2 laps down. Connor Daly is 1 lap down.
See the pace car pulling off. Looks like we're set to go racing again, and like I said, everybody knows this is the time to do it.
Thank you, Rick. We welcome those of you that have been watching the NASCAR Xfinity Series, where Justin Allgaier won tonight. Here we are at Worldwide Technology Raceway. We've had 2 cautions, a lot of action, oval racing, 5 to go in the IndyCar Championship. 22-year-old David Malukas is in front. Then it's Will Power, Scott McLaughlin, Joseph Newgarden, 3 Penske cars, and then they have been battling throughout the pack.
That second lane is definitely opening up as we see Will Power now wanting to challenge Malukas for the lead down into turn 3. He's going to get it easily as they fall in line through 4.
So it's a Penske to the front, and then Team Penske's McLaughlin and Joseph Newgarden sit 3rd and 4th, and Pato O'Ward in that orange and black McLaren dives to the inside.
He's making moves now. He dispatched with Ericsson off the restart. Now he's side by side with Newgarden. Probably going to get that position into 3. Look, Newgarden's got the draft off McLaughlin right now. Yeah, that gave him just enough of a pull to stay in front of the number 5. And look at Joseph hanging it outside there. That's exactly what we want to see at this early stage of the race. Track temp starting to come down. We started this race at 115 on the track temp, down to 111. This track's just going to keep getting racier and racier as this night goes on.
So we're right on board with Pato O'Ward. He gets clean air to the low side, and now you can appreciate that higher downforce package creates a bigger hole for Pato O'Ward to suck up in. But at this point, James, he's saying, I need to save fuel. I'm not going to press for track position. I'm going to save gas, hit my number, and try to make the fuel window we need to do this on 4 stops.
After a restart like that, the teams will give the drivers a lap or 2 to sort of sort it out, go full attack mode, try to make up what you can, and then it's immediately falling back to a fuel number. You can do that as a driver by switching the engine map on the steering wheel, can kind of lean the engine out, save a bit of fuel, and then of course, the most powerful fuel-saving tool that the drivers have at their disposal is their right foot. Big lifts and early lifts into 1 and 2, same in 3 and 4, is going to save you a ton of shell fuel, which is the name of the game at this early stage of the race.
Will Power comes into this event 2nd in the championship, 49 points back. But 2 of the contenders from Chip Ganassi Racing started 9 spots further back than where they qualified. So Alex Palou started 16th. He's been able to pick up some ground, running 9th right now. And Scott Dixon has already taken a pit stop, and he started 19th. So the championship, points as they run, tightening up.
Yeah, I mean, Palou came in with a 49-point advantage over Power as they run. It's only a 20-point advantage, so a massive swing as they run at the moment. But look, that's your guy right there, championship leader Palou. He's still got a lot of time to make these moves, and we know how good not just he is as a driver, but that team, Townsend, is so good at execution on the strategy side of things to damage, limit the loss of points. As that's his
Colton Herta wasted no time going forward as well. Now Herta drafts up on the tail of Alex Palou, who's side by side with Rinus VK.
Colton Herta started
that was close
because he crashed in qualifying, and he is charging, and he just passed the championship leader to get inside the top 10.
We just talked about risk mitigation, and that really opened the eyes for Alex Palou, who saw Colton Herta closing really close to his right side there.
Santino Ferrucci side by side with Felix Rosenqvist. A look from the AutoNation on board.
He defended against Rosenqvist, kept that momentum, and actually made it a pass on Palou, whose momentum got a little bit held up there through that 3 and 4 exchange earlier. And now on board with Dixon, the PNC Bank on board. He's looking at the back of Nolan Siegel in the McLaren, the rookie, having his first race here.
But more than looking at the back of Siegel, that was Alexander Rossi to the inside of Scott Dixon. More than looking at potentially Nolan Siegel, I think Scott Dixon paying very careful attention to his dash as now he goes to the inside because Dixon knows exactly what he needs to do to stretch that fuel window.
Dixon is one of those that topped off during one of the 2 early cautions on lap 10, so we already have a couple of different strategies in play, and you know when it comes to strategy, nobody does it better than Dixon.
So you're saying Dixon's already got a fuel advantage on everybody in front of him? Cool, this is great. NTT on board, Nolan Siegel, that is, I guess that's Connor Daly, who managed to survive. I'm still so impressed that car was undamaged from that massive contact with Kyle Kirkwood.
Well, we don't know if it's undamaged, but it's drivable.
Fair enough, that's a great point.
So maybe Connor's struggling to hang on as he looks to be blocking Rossi potentially the low side, but Rossi not giving up and jams it in there.
And Daly is a lap down in that fight, and his teammate Romain Grosjean was in the same incident. He is 2 laps down. And if you just joined us, Daly is in for Agustin Canapino. He parted ways with the team mutually, back racing in Argentina. Daly finishes the season in the 78.
Yeah, on one hand, you've got drivers trying to save fuel as Colton Herta's looking to put another car behind him. That's the 21 of Rinus VK. But on one hand, you're trying to save a little bit of fuel. On the other hand, when drivers are saving fuel, you can sometimes make those passes a bit easier because they're having to do those big lifts. So sometimes fuel saving can lead to processional racing as we go to that Firestone telemetry on board the Gamebridge Honda with Herta here.
We're starting to see a little bit of tire degradation sneak in there as Colton Herta slid up. And you saw Rinus VK awfully low into turn 1 a lap ago as Colton Herta was trying to make the move, and I just wonder how aggressively that might have taken place. Let's take a look at a replay. Here it is, VK up ahead. He can see Herta coming. That's proactive. That's well within the rules, is anticipating, not reacting to. So all good there for Rinus VK.
Rossi again on Dixon, trying to make it stick. They've been side by side a few times, but he manages to get it done on the entry to 1. Dixon has no answer mid-corner through 2, but decent one off. Here we go again.
Rossi defends to the inside. Dixon has the draft, but he'll back out of it.
I don't think this is what was forecast by many. That's why we watch. You never know in sport what you're going to see.
Well, trust the drivers, Kevin. They knew. They knew after last night that this would be racy, and they are proving it today. Good stuff so far.
You won't miss anything. We'll go nonstop. You still have a chance to drive away with a new Corvette courtesy of Hy-Vee. All season you've had the chance to enter to win 1 of 3. There is 1 left. Grab your mobile device and scan the QR code on your screen to enter. Well, we've had a development with one of the championship contenders here at Worldwide Technology Raceway outside St. Louis, Pato Award, who came in 5th in the championship. Not an awesome shot, but with his success on the remaining tracks, very much still in play, but he has a mechanical.
Engine. Yep, copy. Grade 12, stock.
And he thinks it's an engine.
Yeah, it sounds off. The driver can hear it, can feel it from inside the cockpit. The team can see it on the telemetry as well. Did a good job to hang on to it. You see the sparks coming out of the back of the car.
Never a good sign.
This
metal
is
on metal inside there as they take Pato O'Ward. I'm a little surprised that Pato O'Ward is still in the car. Can't imagine that that's a fixable situation, but they'll give it everything to try to get him back out there if at all possible. Meanwhile, the pace stable now at about a mid-27 lap time, James, but this is a full 10 miles an hour down from qualifying pace as everybody settles in to what they think is the right fuel burn. We've had 15 laps of caution, but I think, Kevin, you're going to want to get to probably lap 60 before you consider stopping if you're one of the top 11 cars that hasn't made its way to the first to pit lane yet.
I think you always want to go as long as you can, because the advantage is if you have not made your stop, others have, and a yellow comes out, you certainly pick up a huge advantage. That's why Scott Dixon won by 22 seconds last year. One of the reasons.
Well, that's the NTT prediction for the next stop. Again, for those top 11 drivers, lap 57 to 65.
Our pit stop window prediction is powered by NTT. So 4-stopper, it averages out to 52. We got a lot of caution so far.
And James, historically, pit stops here are more determined on tire degradation than fuel, like we saw in Iowa. But this year, Firestone's brought a harder tire. They're lasting longer. The degradation, not nearly as much of an issue.
Yeah, it really has kind of changed the complexity of this race on top of the more downforce and the added weight of the hybrid. As we look at our pole sitter, and Dylan knows more about what's happening with the 3.
Yeah, he runs in the 3rd spot right now, and a few laps ago, as they try to navigate this fuel save, this was the radio from Kyle Moyer to his driver.
If you think the front tires can take it, let's go ahead and close the gap a little bit. I think we get better fuel mileage a little closer up there.
So he didn't close on him. In fact, he's lost a little bit of ground, and Moyer just came on the radio a little bit ago and told him to change his fuel map setting on the steering wheel and then do a bigger lift off the throttle in 1 and 2. So wasn't able to close on Malukas, but still trying to do their own fuel save as they run kind of by themselves in that 3rd spot.
And the lap times, like you were saying, T-Bell, mid-27s, well off of qualifying, but only about a second off the fastest lap of the race so far, turned near the beginning. David Malukas holding that title right now. But interesting to hear that maybe tire deg is more of a thing than we thought it was after practice.
Track temp 109, the sun's still shining brightly all the way around this track, but should get a little easier as things start to set sunwise off into the west by the arch. As Joseph Newgarden in the PPG car seems pretty comfortable, and I think right now, Kev, as you approach your first pit stop right before you pit, I think you're going to want to close up if you can and try to take away any green flag gap that is possible, because the overlap during green flag, I mean, you can go from, with one bad pit stop or a little mistake on the apron, you can go from 4th to 10th quite easily, depending on how your competition's pushing it.
Joseph Newgarden has won 4 times here. He, Will Power, and Scott Dixon are the only previous winners that are entered here this year. And for Newgarden, he doesn't really have to think about championship. That is out of play. He is 8, 145 back. It's about wins for the back-to-back Indianapolis 500 winner.
And Joseph's so smart in these races. He knows exactly what he needs out of his race car at this stage of the race. He knows exactly what he needs to execute when it's time to push and attack. So you definitely cannot count him out, just sort of cruising right now in 4th.
Rinus VeeKay, the first to blink, making his first stop from 7th, I believe, the 21 crew, ECR.
And remember, he led to the second caution. His big wiggle caused chaos behind him, and he has survived, and he's moved forward in really good shape.
And you talk about the big wiggle, you saw the left front tire changer take several turns of front wing out of Rinus VeeKay's car. This is Pietro Fittipaldi.
Bit of a long stop, 8.8 for Fittipaldi. Jack Harvey, we see, is now also in the pits.
So how many more laps can Will Power and Team Penske squeeze as Pato O'Ward finally climbs out?
And those that have a little bit more wiggle room, who are up front, Nolan Siegel is the highest runner who stopped on lap 10. He is running 8th. Dylan.
All right, bunch of race cars in. We see Alex Palou is in. The Meyer-Shank cars were in. We saw Felix Rosenqvist on pit road. A lot of requests for a front wing adjustment for all of these cars in traffic. Bottom of your screen there, that's one of the Meyer-Shank cars. I believe that's Rosenqvist. Colton Herta in as well, charged from the back of the field to 8th with all of that caution and just outright pace. Front wing change for Herta as well.
Yeah, half turn of additional front wing for Colton Herta as he exits out. Where does he come out relative to Rinus VeeKay? VeeKay going into turn 1 right there as Felix Rosenqvist blends. So VeeKay comes off at turn 2. Here's Colton Herta. This will be an interesting battle.
It's so important on these pit cycles to get a fast outlap, and that's going to hurt Colton Herta's opportunity with Rinus getting in front of him there. It's going to take some of that fresh air away as 2 of the leaders are in. Joseph Newgarden, Will Power, Georgia.
Four-time winner of this race is in. They've been working on balance all weekend long. There's going to be a front wing adjustment just by a turn, but tires and fuel for Joseph Newgarden.
So 2 of the Penske's have stopped. Scott McLaughlin, the pole sitter who gave it up to save fuel, is back in front. Marcus Ericsson behind him. Now McLaughlin in the Dex Imaging Chevy comes down the pit lane. So everyone has made at least one stop now.
Nolan Siegel cycles up to the front. Dylan as McLaughlin in the pits.
Pretty efficient work from Team Penske to have all 3 of their cars there within 1 lap of each other, despite kind of swapping positions up at the front. McLaughlin was another one that asked for just a small turn of front wing, 4 tires and fuel, 6.9 to stop for McLaughlin.
Same for Ericsson, 2 very speedy stops from the Penske and Andretti Global teams. Is on track. Siegel, the leader, he's now being attacked. That's Malukas in the 66. He is pit. So he's a lap down. He's trying to unlap himself, and there's McLaughlin blending back on right in front of Siegel, staying on the lead lap.
And I'm watching the PPG car there at Joseph Newgarden in terms of where he blends back in after those green flag stops relative to his teammate McLaughlin. So there's Newgarden back there.
So the drivers up front, everybody from Stingray Rob forward, they all pit on lap 10. So roughly a 10-lap advantage as we see the pit time differential powered by NTT between Power and Malukas. A little bit quicker on the in-lap, but time on pit lane, Will Power in the 12th crew. Wow, 2.2 seconds faster. 2 seconds quicker in the pit box for David Malukas. So the net gain over all the different elements of that cycle, less than 1/10 of a second in Malukas' favor.
So it runs Power, Malukas, McLaughlin, Newgarden of that lead group before the stops.
So that's the effective lead in 9th.
Well,
Power.
You really have 2 different strategies at this point, right? You've got Siegel,
right.
Rossi, Dixon.
Right.
Those were all the lap 10 guys that took the splash. So we have that A and that B. But let's go down to the garages where Pato O'Ward is with Georgia.
Yeah, Pato O'Ward has exited the Aero McLaren number 5, done for the day. It was originally assumed it was an engine issue, but there might have been something else going on there.
Yeah, it seems like there was a leak, and then that caused the engine to ultimately fail. We're not quite sure if it was that or if it was just a plain out engine failure, so we'll just have to see. So we don't quite know exactly what it was, but pretty sure our day is done.
Where does this put your head going forward?
I mean, it's been a year of ups and downs, and I think at this point we just want to be winning races. There's 4 to go, so there's plenty of points on the table, and in terms of championship, we'll just see where we stack up at the end of the year. Honestly, to this point, all I care about is winning races.
We'll see if Pato O'Ward can rebound in Portland.
The first of the early stoppers under caution on lap 10, Nolan Siegel, has made his 2nd stop. So Alexander Rossi, Scott Dixon up at the front. And then the other strategy is led by Will Power, David Malukas, and Scott McLaughlin.
And great learning right now for Linus Lundqvist and Kiffin Simpson, the 2 rookies that run 3rd and 4th. They're learning that fuel safe strategy on the oval and trailing the master Dixon, who's now on pit lane.
So Rossi in, now Dixon also in. So there's some options from this group. Their second stop, and neither one of these, especially Dixon, he gave up only 2 positions. He was running 19th, topped off, restarted in 21st. Georgia.
They have not been happy with the setup of this car all weekend long. They've gone through 3 notebook pages of changes on the 9 car, so much so they put the 10 car qualifying setup for qualifying. They think they got it in the window, but we know that strategy comes into play, and one of the best at fuel saving is Scott Dixon.
So Graham Rahal is now in front. He's on a 3rd strategy. He topped off on a 2nd caution, lap 21. So did his teammate Christian Lundgaard. We're just across the Mississippi River from the world-famous Arch outside St. Louis. Beautiful city, beautiful evening coming up here as we go IndyCar racing. 4 of the final 5 races are on ovals, including the championship. The Big Machine Music City Grand Prix has moved to the Nashville Super Speedway. This year's season finale will be the fastest and most exciting on the oval. Get your tickets now for September 14th and 15th as we crown the NTT IndyCar Series champion. Those that stopped early have made their 2nd stop, so we've cycled back to the 1-stoppers, those that started up front in the race. Will Power is leading again, followed by David Malukas by only about 3 or 4 car lengths. Then the pole sitter a couple of seconds back, and Scott McLaughlin, his teammate Joseph Newgarden, and Marcus Ericsson, an Indianapolis 500 winner, runs in 5th.
You can see those 2 different strategies powered by NTT. Strategy A, guys that stretched it on the first stint. Strategy B, those are the drivers, Rossi, Dixon, and Siegel, that topped up around lap 10. A little too early to start guessing how that's going to play out, but James, we talked about it earlier. On these tracks, you want to stay out as long as possible. Right now, that Rossi, Dixon, Siegel, they've got a little more fuel on the same lead lap.
Marcus Ericsson is the best running Andretti car right now in 5th and on this lead strategy and having a really good day. This was the radio between him and his strategist Eric Bretzman just a minute ago about their fuel safe situation.
Yeah, let's just keep working on lap time. It takes fuel 88 to do what we need to do, but we should make up the gap now.
So the thing to keep in mind with some of these cars that started in the mid-pack and kind of run in the mid-pack right now, and this is something that Eric said to me earlier, he said we can't control the pace from where we're starting or even where we run right now, so we just have to do what everybody else does, but just do it a little bit better. So if you can save a lap or 2 on fuel, whether it's under yellow or under green, that may pay dividends by the time we make 3 more stops and maybe have a few more yellows in there as well.
Yeah, all the cars in the top 5 are sort of flirting within the same 1/10 of a second, 27.1 to 27.2. That's the window that they're operating in. That seems to be the pace that you can get and still make that number.
We'll know a lot if it stays green when the next pit stops happen. That'll really help us understand what true fuel range is in race conditions, and then we can start working backwards from the end of the race. As Alex Palou continues to circulate comfortably in 9th, but that championship lead as they run right now, Kevin, would be down to just 18 points over Will Power.
Well, we have seen Alex Palou over the years dodge adversity, and he's had a couple of more close calls here in this one. Just in Toronto 3 weeks ago, he was almost collected in that big crash. Tight on pit lane there.
He was right behind the crash with Connor Daly and Kyle Kirkwood and Roman Grosjean. So on track, in pit lane, everywhere, there seems to be an invisible magnet on the 10 car bringing disaster potentially towards him.
And that's the thing you've got to remember here in St. Louis is really 2 racetracks. There's the apron racetrack, which is completely different than the main racetrack, but equally as important as they come to pit lane under green flag conditions is Barry Wanzer, who's called so many great strategies to get Alex Palou to victory lane, watches on, and these guys aren't watching the racetrack. They won't be for some time. It's all about fuel burn right now.
Different look for Palou this weekend, more of a yellow and black with International Relief Organization Samaritan's Purse. Let's hear some of the strategy for the 10 team.
Everybody's kind of settling down again here after that exchange.
How's everyone feeling?
Yeah, currently P9. We just need a little bit better mileage. What would they get? We need 3.5.
And the caution is out. That is Kiffin Simpson. Big hit.
Exit of 4.
This looks a lot like the damage to Colton Herta's car from qualifying, where maybe just the attenuator and rear wing.
See a big tire mark across the wall there, across that IndyCar Series logo, which makes you think maybe
that left rear hit
left
hard.
rear got in there. Yeah, it's not pointed straight anymore.
So the 19-year-old from the Cayman Islands, one of 5 Chip Ganassi racing cars, will have an early exit, and we have caution number 3 as we go to break and see again what happened to Simpson. Stay with us, Gateway. Caution number 3 at Worldwide Technology Raceway in the Bommarito Automotive Group 500. And we have mixed strategies again. Some came in during this caution. They include 6-time champion Scott Dixon, but the highest runner was Marcus Ericsson, who had pitted on lap 62, comes in again on lap 90 from 5th.
We're in good hands here.
And so they think they can do it on 2 more stops from here with the fuel number that they were making under green right there. So we heard that fuel 88. They think that they can do it from 2 more. You see Michael Andretti and Eric Bretzman, the strategist, over his shoulder. So interesting to kind of mix up strategy A now. So we've got all kinds of different approaches to how we're going to slice up the end of this race.
I like it.
Michael nodding, almost trying to convince himself, yeah, we're good, this is the right call. But this is where you place your bets. The most important thing is, what did Scott Dixon do?
Yeah.
How many times has he done this from the back? Dixon pitted along with his strategist, Mike Hall's call. I think you do what Dixon does in those situations.
That's how you know it's the right call, guys.
Yeah.
But Ericsson was ahead of Dixon on track, and he did, I think, exactly the right thing. I really like this call. You gotta, if you look, nobody knew the real fuel number because you go a bit slower in actual race trim than you do in practice. So now we have a good sense of the number. Bretzman was saying they were making that number in that last stint. So why not? Look, all that's going to happen is more yellow could come out and make that even a little bit easier. So I really like the call from Ericsson, Ferrucci, Siegel, Dixon, Lundqvist, Harvey, VK, and Fittipaldi, the drivers that came in that are on the lead lap on that strategy.
I know you say you can't out Dixon, but what's different here is Marcus Ericsson is already ahead of Dixon. Different story if you're behind him and you're really trying to win.
No doubt. And there's 2 cars between them, Ferrucci and Siegel. So, you know, normally you want to try to do something different if he's out front doing something like that, because you're, like you say, you're not going to out Dixon. But again, I really like this call from the 28 stand.
Behind all of those magic Dixon moments, Mike Hall there, very much a part of the equation. You talk about a guy you don't want to see at the poker table when you sit down in Vegas. This guy knows how to hold them, fold them, and take the chips at the end of the night.
Georgia.
And the relationship between Scott Dixon and Mike Hull is just unbelievable. That decision happened so quickly. Mike Hull said to Scott Dixon, we're coming in this lap. He said, this lap, good call. So great communication between those two, which has proved to be successful in the past, obviously.
They swept during this caution, it looked like, the high line, so spotters will be telling drivers that, so expect some aggression. Let's see what we caught from the Kiffin-Simpson incident that led to this 3rd caution.
Tough to tell. I mean, the back end just comes around in the middle of 3 and 4 in pretty aggressive fashion. I'm sure it was a big surprise for the rookie.
He was running 15, having a solid night.
So you maybe get down onto the curb.
I thought so, but it didn't look like he was unusually low.
Sometimes, you know, obviously as the car spins, it pushes the left front down there, and so it can be a bit misleading. Yeah, tough to know. Tough to know.
Shout out to Marcus Armstrong. There he is in that red and white American Legion number 11, running 5th. Very little overall experience, his first time racing here in his first full season.
It's a pretty long yellow as IndyCar is taking their time to try to sweep the track, and the longer it runs, the more it favors, I think, Dixon, Siegel, some of the drivers that topped up there, because they need yellow laps to stretch it into the window. But Marcus Armstrong, who's having a really nice run in that unique Be The One livery. I don't think we've seen that one before this year. Certainly we've seen American Legion and Be The One in blue and white fashion, but I like mixing it up with the red there.
And Linus Lundqvist still has the blue and white version, so 2 Ganassi cars. And one of the things that Chip Ganassi Racing doing is trying to help veterans through their toughest times, creating an outlet for vets to be the one to ask, listen, and reach out for help. Learn more at www.betheone.org. Chip Ganassi Racing has been training their employees and anyone that's interested to provide help when they can. All right, let's get ready to go here again pretty soon.
Pace cars off.
So how hard are these leaders willing to push?
That's what I was just going to say.
There's a fuel save strategy happening behind them. Is it just motor down, try to build up as big a gap as possible and force those drivers on this B strategy, the fuel save strategy, to have to work harder and burn more fuel?
Top 4 will somewhat be Penske drivers next year. David Malukas is headed to AJ Foyt Racing with a Penske relationship. The other 3 are Penske drivers this year. Let's go again.
Great start for Malukas. You've got Graham Rahal in the mix there, a lap down.
Well, Malukas spun up the rears coming off turn 4 and almost lost it. That allowed Scotty Mack in the number 3 Team Penske car to jump Malukas. And here's Newgarden going side by side, gets around Graham Rahal.
The black and yellow Gamebridge car is still moving forward. Colton Herta is up to 7th. Championship leader Alex Palou is right in front of him in 6th. He started back in 16th.
But now Herta going to be under pressure. He's got to defend against the Meyer Shank machine. You see Rossi having to go defensive from Stingray Robb as well. There's Ericsson. You keep an eye on Ericsson. He's the one with fresh tires. First one in line with the fresh Firestones. And let's see what kind of progress he can make.
Fresh tires, but a long way to go on fuel if they're going to try to do it on 2 more stops. This battle is intense with Rosenqvist outside of Herta and the advantage down the front straight. On board here with Herta.
Marcus Ericsson is dropping. He's lost 2 spots to Nolan Siegel, Scott Dixon. Is this by design because he's got to reach a fuel number, or is something going to miss?
I think if we listen, it'll tell us more as he breathed in it here into turn 3. Yes.
Yeah, but Dixon and Siegel are on the same strategy. They both pit along with him. It seems unlikely you'd want to give up the track position to the other drivers on your strategy when you could try to save fuel at the front of that line. Not sure.
Well, Ericsson going around Dixon to the high side. Bold move.
He ain't saving anything. There must have been a mistake, maybe a botched pass attempt. He's got one of those places back now. Siegel, the lead driver on that alternate strategy. Ericsson trying to get that position back.
This group thinks they can do it with 2 more stops. Those in front are likely going to need 3. Ericsson trying the high side, not that time.
But he's going to cut back low and have great drive off of turn 2. He'll be clear before they even get to the exit. I talked to him this morning, and he said that his car was great in traffic. Him and spotter Bob Perona very excited.
Siegel trying to give it back to Ericsson side by side in 3 and 4, James. Had to cut you off because that was close.
And that's going to check up Siegel. Now Dixon's got to look on the outside into 1.
That was a teenager trying to take it to an Indy 500 winner there. Siegel is going to give it up, but he is going to school and learning tonight. Now fighting with a 6-time champ. Dixon will win that battle.
Ericsson just looks so comfortable up top right now, guys. He's using those fresh Firestones to great effect. The track would have been swept clean during that caution. The drivers know that.
And the struggle right now, Kevin, that I'm having up here in the booth is normally we have a pretty good sense of what a full stint is. Nobody's done a full stint yet because of the cautions. The teams know. They know the fuel they're burning per lap. The strategists are calculating.
Here we go
and
again.
Ericsson is calculating each pass as he moves around Stingray Robb.
Nice
into the
move
top
there.
10 now.
That's going to be a nice little buffer here. 3 back.
Got to get the fuel number. Got to get the fuel number. Fuel 78 here.
That was Bob Perona first speaking, the spotter, and then immediately the strategist, Ben Bretzman, jumping in saying, yeah, that's cool and all, but we have a fuel number to hit. Let's hit it.
Let's call him Buzzkill. He's taking the fun away.
It's like a family vacation, right? One parent's having a blast, throwing money at it. The other one's saying, got to be respectful of the budget.
The PNC on board with Scott Dixon. Championship
Gonna get the same number
contender.
here we're trying to get you to do.
In 12th, getting instructions from Mike Hall.
He's getting information from Mike Hall. It's just telling him that Ericsson's got to hit the same number that we do. So he knows that Ericsson can't just run off into the distance here. So while he is definitely wanting to get around Stingray Robb, who right now is about 19 laps to the good on fuel compared to Dixon, you know, look at his Firestone telemetry to see how he's making that savings work.
Last year, Dixon did 2 fewer stops than all of the other front runners and won by 22 seconds. He almost lapped the field. There were only 2 more on the lead lap, and they were right in front of him.
Not using any of that hybrid available right now. He's just riding and respecting the numbers he gets from Mike Hall.
Meanwhile, back up front, it's Will Power settling in right now by more than a second on his teammate Scott McLaughlin. And then David Malukas, who has done what he was asked to do. One of the reasons why he was brought in to take over the number 66 is to make sure they scored enough points for the revenue sharing program, the Leaders Circle. We're in St. Louis, and one of the great features is the 630-foot tall, the world's largest arch, completed in 1965. It's a must-see here in St. Louis. You are watching USA's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by Firestone Tires for redefining limits. Genesis, customer experience for the age of AI. And by Hy-Vee. This racing season, help Hy-Vee reach their goal of 100 million meals by visiting Hy-Vee.com. Will Power has led 75 of the 115 laps here at Worldwide Technology Raceway. His teammate, the pole sitter Scott McLaughlin, runs in second now. He's led 16. David Malukas runs third. He's led 11. We have a couple of different strategies in play. The top 9 are likely going to need 3 more stops and maybe stopping soon from back to Marcus Ericsson. Some of those 10th and beyond, like Scott Dixon, they are trying to get it done in 2 more stops. Here is a stop coming for David Malukas, and he's going to come into the view of Dylan Welch.
Yeah, and so a couple things to watch here for Malukas. They've been having clutch issues. They told him don't clutch and coast to save fuel, so that obviously presents a little bit of a challenge as well. You see Colton Herta back there at the back of the screen making his way down here as well. So when Malukas hits his box as he peels off now, the crew will likely have to push him because they just don't want to burn up that clutch completely. It's been getting hot. They'll change Firestone tires at Shell Race Fuel as well. Here's Colton Herta into the pits. He is the very first pit stop, pit box at the end of pit road. Just requested some more front wing as they change Firestones and add Shell Fuel as well.
More front wing once again for Colton Herta. Here's Joseph Newgarden, Georgia.
Yeah, Joseph Newgarden, to the attention of his crew, they're going to put 4 Firestone tires on it, fill it up with fuel. He said after the first stop, it just started pushing at 3 and 4, so trying to work on that a little bit, but overall, Joseph happy with the 2.
Felix Rosenquist, who's been fast, had a grid penalty, started a little further back, but could be a player. Scott McLaughlin again is going longest as Will Power comes down for stop number 2.
It's great to see the fuel mileage between the 2 manufacturers seems to be pretty close. Doesn't seem to be an overwhelming advantage one way or the other.
So for them to get it done in 2 more, let's do some quick math here, Townsend.
Well, we had a lot of yellow laps on the last stint, but they ran about 58 laps there as Nolan Siegel continues to mix it up. That's with Linus Lundqvist in that blue and white American Legion car on board here with Newgarden.
just out of the pits on the rookie Lundqvist. And now again, the last to make the second stop is Scott McLaughlin for Team Penske.
And he's been battling some handling issues. Said that the car was all over the place. Most recently was battling a loose end condition earlier in this run. Kyle Moyer told him to make a weight jacker adjustment. That seemed to help it just a little bit. They'll change 4 tires here. Don't think they're going to make a wing change. Just let McLaughlin adjust on it in the race car as he's down and away.
Alexander Rossi out in front. He has made 2 stops. He is one of those that topped off early on lap 10. So did Stingray Robb. So Ericsson leads one of the strategies.
And Newgarden aggressively passing Siegel there as Newgarden comes off turn 2. He's chasing Scotty Mack, but McLaughlin, James, comfortably ahead of Newgarden on that cycle of stops.
Here's the thing. This is what you got to remember. For the guys that are trying to do 2 more stops versus 3 more before this last cycle just started, with the dual stage pit limit that we introduced this year, as we see Newgarden going by Dixon, one of those drivers that's saving fuel, that's actually really favored the drivers that are trying to do it in 1 less stop. That second stage of the pit lane speed limiter is now Newgarden dispatches Ericsson, has made the time loss to pit considerably longer than it was last year. Now about 33, 34 seconds of time lost to pit, which means that extra pit stop strategy means you gotta make up that 34 seconds on the racetrack. Right now, the drivers that are saving fuel before that pit stop sequence just happened for the Strategy A cars, they were only running a couple tenths of a second faster than the cars saving fuel. So right now, if it were to stay green, it is definitely favoring those drivers like Ericsson and Dixon that came in and tried to stretch it. Colton Herta, not one of those drivers. He's right now in 18th position, technically a lap down. Right now, everybody from Will Power down is a lap down to the leader, Rossi. He'll be pitting a few laps before the Ericsson, Dixon, Siegel strategy car. So a lot of different things playing out here.
So those that just stopped should be able to do 2 more.
They should.
And the ones like Ericsson, Dixon, and Siegel, that's the one that is in question. So those that just stopped are hoping for green, right? The ones that...
we think so. Again, we have not seen a full, clean, green stint from anybody to really know. Maybe we're about to on this stint as Alexander Rossi comes to the box. Let's not forget that he broke his wrist at Toronto, didn't get to race. They flew in Théo Pourchaire at the last second. But Rossi looking fully healed behind the wheel, James. He's got screws in his wrist and made a very rapid recovery.
Yeah, incredible recovery time, quick surgery, a little bit of rehab and PT to get that thumb back. Got onto the simulator down in Charlotte to make sure everything was copacetic, and you hear that's that second stage pit limiter off right there, and now he's go, go, go. He's draining the hybrid, trying to get up to speed, accelerating, trying to stay in front of Ericsson and Dixon right behind him there. These guys aren't on the same strategy, but they're on a much closer strategy than the Penske cars, for example, so very crucial for Rossi to stay ahead there from a track position standpoint.
So the group in front stopped on lap 89. Running in 10th, Will Power stopped on lap 119.
So getting a look at the Strategy B cars here as they snake down the backstretch. Marcus Ericsson, overall leader and leader on this strategy. This was the conversation from his timing stand to the cockpit a few laps ago.
We got to let him go and get his toe. Ideas on that? Could do. We got to get the number, but then Dixon's right behind you. Every lap we don't do here, we got to do in the next stint.
And team engineer Olivier Bolson came on the radio shortly after that and said, the fuel number is the only thing that matters. And I think the best way they do that is just kind of mirror Dixon. If they're in front of him, we know Dixon knows how to save fuel pretty efficiently, so they can kind of see him in their mirrors. They're doing okay.
Might get a little read on some fuel strategy here with Graham Rahal soon. 55 laps since he has pitted.
Take a look back at the yellow, black, and white car of Colton Herta. looks to the high side on Alex Palou and then tries to dive in on Marcus Armstrong, makes it work, but that was close. I'm not sure Armstrong knew he was going to do that, James.
No, I mean, Armstrong's spotter would have said one behind in line with you and one on the inside, and then that last-minute decision from Colton to drop down and follow Palou through. There's not enough time to communicate that to the driver, so definitely caught him off guard, but heads-up driving from all to get away with it.
It has, but I got to say, it's been a couple of fairly low percentage attempts by Colton Herta with high percentage outcomes. If you think back to the 4 wide on the start, that move right there, Colton Herta only thinking race win today. He's not points driving.
Well, Alex Palou in front has a gap in the championship, but everyone knows that he wants to be smart. So how much will Herta attack him right now? It's Palou on the attack, getting in front. We are past the midpoint here from Worldwide Technology Raceway in St. Louis.
All right, boys, let's go. It's going to be a long day. Let's win the race. Let's go. Green, 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 green.
Boss, Kelly's crashed. Still outside. All clear. Keep it off the wall.
Ericsson moved. Highest part of the track. Unbelievable.
Went to the checkered here, buddy. Nice job today. Way to show who's boss. Race winner and IndyCar champion.
Yes! I love that.
Final road course of the season is coming up next Sunday afternoon. Also here on USA and Peacock from Portland. James Hinchcliffe and Townsend Bell both had their share of excitement there over the years. And Nolan Siegel has been charging. He is trying to attack the 6-time champ for the lead on the same pit cycle. Same strategy right here. Siegel running second. Stingray Robb behind him there. He's been quick. He's third fastest lap of the race. But Stingray is on a different strategy, and he is 1 lap down there trying to get his lap back.
Stay behind here. Stay in the gap. Do not lose another spot to Rob behind you.
So Marcus Ericsson was leading this strategy of those that had stopped on lap 89, and now he is behind Dixon, Siegel, Lundqvist, and Ferrucci. So did he back up knowing he needed better fuel mileage?
Well, we heard that debate earlier between Ericsson's spotter and his strategist. One cheering him on is Nolan Siegel. Gets around Scott Dixon into turn 1.
How much of that is Scott Dixon saying, okay, I'll let you tow me around. I know I can get you back when I want to. Okay.
All of it.
Not to take anything away from Nolan Siegel, who's had a really strong run. And Nolan was telling us on Thursday he felt really good. This is the first time he's ever been back to a track to race where he had tested before in his young IndyCar career.
Almost looked to me, James, like Nolan Siegel's been told, all right, bail on fuel save, just go. We're in a hole right now because if you look back to the Strategy A cars, they are going super fast. Nolan Siegel just went 2 seconds quicker than Scott Dixon on that lap. So I think what we're seeing right now is a team running the numbers and changing it up midstream.
Nolan Siegel has already driven with 3 teams in his rookie season. He is a teenager. He won at Le Mans this season. And he has an impressive future in front of him. He's been accepted to Stanford. He's deferred because he's kind of busy right now.
Slow for Rinus VeeKay down at a 1 and 2. Newgarden around the outside. Wonder if there was a bit of an issue there.
Yeah,
diving into pit lane.
Coming in. Now, VeeKay's one of those cars that last pitted on lap 89, like Dixon, Siegel, Ferrucci, Ericsson. So maybe we will see Dixon coming soon. Lap 147, Christian Lundgaard comes in behind VeeKay. Here comes Nolan Siegel. Oh, loses the back, then locks the front. Thought he was going to get into the wall there as Scott Dixon, Ferrucci follow.
So if they were thinking about
112 laps to the end, so you'd have to make crazy good mileage to make that work on one more stop. As Nolan Siegel almost loses the back of his car, leaving the pit box there. And Ferrucci, Dixon side by side. Good job from the AJ Foyt team.
Here comes Marcus Ericsson.
Marcus Ericsson working his way down pit road. I thought I caught a radio transmission that the tires were overheating. So we'll look at those here when we get off. And now they're just up on the air jacks. There was a miscommunication about whether they were changing the front tires or not. So maybe a potential issue on Ericsson here. I thought they just kept him out to make sure they got that fuel number. And he's got a big blister on one of the front tires. So we're going to check on this, and we'll get you an answer here what's wrong with Ericsson.
Yeah, that's something gone catastrophically wrong. They weren't even attempting to change the front tires. You don't not change front tires if you're changing other tires. So there's a...
Let's go. Let's just go here.
See, Olivier Bolson, the engineer, said, let's just go. Michael Andretti up front and Eric Bretzman were talking to HRC Honda officials there.
That was bizarre.
And that cost him how much time? 10, 15 seconds?
Oh, it doesn't matter. Day done.
Yeah.
You might as well go home. It's...
We'll make it up.
So you're hearing we'll make it up from Nolan Siegel because he is diving back into pit lane. You see Ferrucci down there as well. Both of these drivers got speeding penalties on that last round of stops. Such a strong result going for the young man from California.
And for Ferrucci, who had a nice run. Siegel's penalty doesn't surprise me because, as he said right there, he locked up the rear. He did a heck of a job saving the race car, then locked up the front to try to get it woed up.
Sorry,
Not
that
sure
sucks.
what happened to Ferrucci here. He's following Dixon in. And this is the most painful of pit lane. That feels like a 5-mile pit lane when you're serving a penalty. And for Marcus Ericsson, whatever happened appears to be maybe more serious. Dylan?
And this is a motor issue. It sounds like...
Turn it off, get some fans on it.
Yeah, you just heard Eric Bretzman turn it off and get some fans on it. So we heard that overheating radio. That wasn't about the tires. That was about the motor, and that's why they were falling back. So there has been some Honda engineers down here trying to diagnose exactly what's wrong, and that's why you saw the hesitation to change the tires. It wasn't an issue with those. It was, what are we going to do with the back half of the race car? So devastation here for Ericsson. Been the best Andretti car so far today, and not going to get the result that they deserve.
And he was leading one of the two strategies. We still don't know which one is best, but was in play for his first win with Andretti Global. Not today, though.
What a bummer. It obviously explains why they were falling back, like Dylan said, but...
Okay, so let's reset.
Yeah,
back to the front.
Need to do
What's going on here? Will Power, Scott McLaughlin, David Malukas lead. These cars will have to stop 2 more times. The cars that are lapped down that we've been talking about, like Scott Dixon, Linus Lundqvist, they're going to have to stop, we think, 1 more time. But they have to stretch to make that work.
It's going to be a big stretch. And right now, Lundqvist is ahead of Dixon, maybe playing a little bit of a team game, helping Dixon tow along to save that fuel.
So Scott Dixon needs to average 56 laps in his 2 stints, which seems very doable. Stay tuned. You're watching USA's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by Elf, the beauty company that stands with every eye, lip, and face. And by eBay Motors. Kevin Lee, Towns Bell, James Hinchcliffe, Georgia Henneberry, and Dylan Welch at Worldwide Technology Raceway, where Will Power leads. Pit stops coming. Graham Rahal coming in, and he may have a mechanical issue. This may be an unscheduled stop for Rahal. Another with a mechanical issue that was a contender for the win, Marcus Ericsson out of the car with Dylan Welch.
Yeah, 100 laps to go here, and Ericsson is done after potentially being in position to win this race. How soon did you start to realize there was maybe some sort of issue?
Yeah, I just saw the MGU fault came up on my dash, and yeah, we were leading our strategy until then. Obviously don't know how the race will play out, but we were having a really strong day, and it's just painful. You know, the team has done a tremendous job all year, but it's been so many things going against us, and same today. You know, we're having a really good weekend, and fighting for a win, and then it just gets taken away from you.
It was a big fuel number that you were asked to make, but it seemed like you guys were doing well at it. How confident were you that you were going to be able to make that strategy work?
Yeah, it was difficult, but the Honda mileage was really good, and I was hitting the numbers we needed, so we could actually go longer than the guys that were on the same strategy there, the pit stop before, so we were looking good. We were looking really good. Like I said, I don't know what strategy is going to win, but if that strategy is winning, it's even more painful because we had the car and the speed to win that thing. So, yeah, just doesn't want to go our way.
Bummer for sure for Marcus Ericsson. Also saw Graham Rahal come into the pits there and climb out of his number 15 car.
David Malukas is stopping.
Just going back to Ericsson quickly, mentions MGU fault as Colton Herta dives into pit lane. MGU is one of the components of the hybrid system, so that seems to be something that affected what happened there as his teammate Dylan comes down to pit lane.
So here is Colton Herta, and he is carrying the torch now for the Andretti Global Group with problems for Kyle Kirkwood early in the race and now problems for Marcus Ericsson. Herta will hit his marks here. Hasn't said a bunch on the radio about the balance of the race car on this run. They'll just change Firestone tires, add Shell fuel as well, and then a quick front wing change for Herta.
So probably the second to last stop for Colton Herta as Joseph Newgarden peels off.
He was one of the first to stop in this strategy. One of the first again, Georgia.
Yeah, absolutely. Joseph Newgarden making yet another pit stop for Firestone tires and Shell fuel. He's been relatively happy with the car other than the slight push, but they're not going to make any adjustments on the race car as well.
Will Power joining him with all the split strategies. It almost seems like there's pit stops happening every 10 laps somewhere throughout the field. Pit lane very busy.
And during this sequence, it'll tell us where is Scott Dixon. Will Power, Team Penske, looking crisp and precise. 7-3 there for Will Power. What does Alex Palou have? 7-4.
Two of the best teams on pit lane, consistently going within a tenth of a second of each other. Now Newgarden, fresh rubber, back on track. That's around David Malukas.
Malukas only pitted a lap or two earlier, so he has just a lap or two older Firestones, and that's why he's fighting Newgarden so hard.
Battle for position, and Newgarden wins this fight.
Newgarden's teammate McLaughlin, he's off. Let's see where he blends out in relation to this battle.
Stingray Robb has cycled to the front. I know he's on a different strategy, but he's been quick. He's been having a good night in the A.J. Foyt racing car with the third fastest lap of the race.
So there's McLaughlin, second car in line there. Several cars buffer in between himself and Joseph Newgarden.
So Stingray Robb shown as the leader, but he'll have to pit soon. Along with Fittipaldi and Lundqvist. Look at this getting jammed up between teammates. Newgarden the high side, Will Power down low. They'll split Lundqvist potentially. Oh, that's close.
And that just kills the momentum of Lundqvist. Power doing a great job of predicting that was going to happen. Didn't run up the back of him in the middle of the corner. Timed that beautifully to get the run into one, and he clears the Ganassi driver. It's Newgarden keeping the roll going on that high line.
Right around the outside on Pietro Fittipaldi for position, sort of. Not on the same strategy, but it's track position because you want to run fast laps right now.
Now, let's talk a little bit of strategy as we ride on board with Will Power. If Scott Dixon can make it on one more stop, he's not in a good situation. He's 23 seconds back, maybe 18 seconds back of McLaughlin, but he has to save more fuel to get to that one more stop. So the two strategies now have converged. All of the front runners, one more stop to get to the end.
It's about a 34-second buffer like we talked about that you've got to make up on track, and they're 2/3 of the way there with still quite a bit of racing to go.
We've had 17 lead changes. The previous most here in an IndyCar race was 13.
And there's still more to come. 85 laps left on the board for these guys. It's going to be a big ask for Dixon and those drivers on that strategy. Look at the sun now going down behind the...
Oh, look at Rinus VeeKay just squirming. That car looks loose.
And Power just in the dirty air there, didn't have enough front grip to turn down below him, had to just pedal the throttle to make sure he didn't get into the back of VeeKay. Now Malukas trying to make the same move on the ECR driver. We'll get it done into 3.
What a great day David Malukas is having. Started up front, staying up front. Meyer Shank Racing battling it out with Team Penske.
It's essentially a Penske 1-2-3 once Rob pits, and Malukas hanging on right there with him. And there's Scott Dixon sitting there behind Christian Lundgaard, second car in line, just trying to save whatever fuel he can. It is mission critical for him right now. He would love a little bit of yellow flag to help the cause, but just listen how early he's got to lift. And that's a situation you got to watch out for when you're doing this, Town Cities. You got to lift so early. The cars behind you aren't expecting sometimes the closing rate.
They're in such a difficult position now. Now they know that they're sort of in no man's land. You can't bail out on the strategy at this point, pitting under green and making an extra stop. You just have to sleep in the bed you've made and try to nurse it home as McLaughlin now laps Scott Dixon. And if they both have one more stop, it is not looking like the kind of Dixon magic we're used to.
You don't know. It's not done yet.
Yes, you never count out Scott Dixon. Stay with us from Gateway. You're watching USA's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by Code 3 Associates, proud partner of RLL Racing. When disaster strikes animals, Code 3 answers the call. NTT, official sponsor and technology partner of the NTT IndyCar Series. And by Bommarito Automotive Group. For all your automotive needs, visit bommarito.com. Thank you for joining us into the evening here on the banks of the Mississippi in Madison, Illinois. Kevin Lee, Towns Bell, James Hinchcliffe, Dylan Welch, and Georgia Henneberry. 5 to go in the IndyCar Championship. 4 are on ovals, including tonight. Scott McLaughlin started on pole. Said he didn't feel like an IndyCar driver until he had won on an oval. He did that a few weeks ago in Iowa, and he's in front. But Joseph Newgarden in that blue and white PPG Team Penske Chevrolet is still lurking in play. And then there's Will Power running in third. It's Penske 1, 2, 3, and David Malukas in fourth, who has done nothing more than finish second and third in his 2 IndyCar starts here and win a pair of Indy Lights races.
Really tricky conditions right now for all the drivers, Kevin, because of the angle of the sun in turn 3. You saw it there with Will Power. It's tricky to just tell where you are on the racetrack because the marbles are growing and growing on the track. Right here as you turn into the sun, if you slide up just a little bit too far, it could be game over for any of these leaders right now.
And this is our longest green flag run, 91 laps since the third caution of the day.
Track temps continuing to fall down to 99 degrees as these two are now racing up front for essentially the race, or for the race lead.
McLaughlin trying to hold off Joseph Newgarden, and Christian Lundgaard could be a pick there in front. McLaughlin holds him up for now.
And Newgarden's got to be careful. That's what I'm talking about, the wash up. You get into that dirty air trying to make a move and you check up. You slide too high, you might go for a ride. On board here with Lundgaard.
Everybody's still got at least one more stop to come, but track position could be critical. Can McLaughlin dispatch of Lundgaard, and then how quickly can Newgarden do the same? Job done for McLaughlin.
Look at how comfortable Joseph Newgarden is, James. Up there risking it where that light gray margin is with all of the debris on the racetrack. He is looking fiercely brave right now.
Because even Christian Lundgaard was not right on the white line in 3 and 4. He was a few feet off, and Joseph's still comfortable to hang it up even higher.
Now Will Power's feeling inspired by his teammate. He's like, I'm going to go high too. Now he goes low going into 3. Great stuff.
So the Penskes are clear, running 1, 2, 3 again on the track. Malukas needs to get through Lundgaard next. Dylan, what are you hearing on the Thirsty Threes?
Well, let's listen into some radio as they discuss just the final 70 laps of this race and what their approach is.
Great job here, great job. Okay, we're playing Joseph now. He's doing the same thing we are. His fuel codes are 25. We have a 2-lap advantage on him.
And that's the biggest thing that they wanted to try to do, was just build a little bit of a buffer, pit stop to pit stop over Joseph Newgarden and Will Power. They've done that, so we'll see how that plays out over the course of this run for McLaughlin, Georgia.
And we talk about Newgarden going to that high line, but we have to remember last night he was one of the only drivers in the final practice session to give it a try. And then afterwards he told me, I love the high line and I really hope it comes into play. So it's fitting that he's going to use it during the race and be one of the onlys to try it. And it's fitting for Newgarden. He's going to need it.
The top two in this race seem to be best friends over the last few years. They did a YouTube show, the Bus Bros, that ended at the end of last season, and then it's now said to be more of a business relationship. They work together as teammates, but it's not the same as it was, and both had stated, you know, at some point, we're going to get mad at each other on the racetrack. They may be fighting for a win here again tonight.
Well, if it's a business relationship, one's a slicer, one's a dicer, because they are carving up the field right now as Scott Dixon comes to pit lane for what might be his final stop.
66 laps to go. It's a big ask for Scott Dixon in the 9.
Watch McLaughlin here try to work his way through traffic. They're too wide in front of him.
And he's going to try to put the championship
here
leader,
comes
Alex
Newgarden.
Palou,
Look at the run. Newgarden to the high side of Herta. He's got a big run on his teammate.
And here he comes on McLaughlin. Can he use the traffic to his advantage? McLaughlin clears. He's wiggling. Newgarden's coming through. Can he hang on?
No!
Newgarden going around.
That's what I was talking about. That light gray is so dangerous up high.
All clear behind, all clear behind.
What a save.
They only lost 2 positions, guys. I imagine those are flat spotted tires, though. The yellow came out quickly as it has to on an oval. That was a remarkable save for Newgarden.
And that caution keeps Scott Dixon in play. Maybe not for the win, but at least to make it home and get a decent result and stay in the championship.
But remember, Dixon had just pit.
Yes.
I think this helps Dixon.
No,
it definitely helps.
He's currently 2 laps down. Let's see what happens when he crosses the line, because he was just in the pits. But if he's stuck 2 laps down, this will not help Scott Dixon at all. Just need to make sure once they cross the line and everything cycles through. But yeah, this is we were just talking about how he needed a little bit of help. 66 laps was what the issue was going to be, or the ask was going to be from Dixon.
Yeah, you're right.
James.
Yeah.
I think it came just a little too late, that yellow.
Because there it is. He's behind Scott McLaughlin on the racetrack. Scott Dixon will cross the line, traps 2 laps down, so he'll get 1 back.
Now, do they all pit here under the caution?
You have to.
We've seen 61 laps on a green flag, I believe. So
this changes everything. This potentially puts the leaders in a situation where they've got to save mad fuel if they come to the box right now.
Absolutely.
I think you have to your point.
I think it's too big a risk not to. You see all the sweepers are going to be out. It's not going to be a short yellow. Even though we had no contact, there's no car to fetch, there's no debris to pick up. Race control is making the right call here to take the time to sweep the high line, to get rid of all the marbles you're just talking about, Townsend, and make sure that these drivers have all the room to go hard racing on this next restart. And looking down in pit lane out of the window of the booth, I am seeing cars and teams lined up and laid out, ready to accept their race cars, put on that last set of Firestones, fill up that last tank of fuel, and let's see who can outduel one another going for the win. But definitely a raw break for Scott Dixon.
Yeah, he needed to be only 1 lap down. Then he would have got a lap back
on the wave around.
He needed the yellow to be able to make it home on fuel, but he needed the yellow to come after these drivers had made their stop.
Correct.
That's it.
So Joseph Newgarden kind of dodges a huge bullet here because they're going to be coming in anyway. He can get those flat-spotted tires off of his car, and a big advantage, obviously, for McLaughlin as he heads to pit lane.
This is an interesting part at this racetrack is for McLaughlin. He could jump the apron there. Look at the gap he has on Joseph Newgarden because of all the cars that stayed out.
Split strategies with Team Penske. Will Power stayed out.
2 Penske's in, 1 Penske out. Now it's down to the race in pit lane.
Yeah, it should be pretty easy for McLaughlin to get out ahead of Newgarden because of that apron gap where he passed the pace car. You're allowed to do that. All good for McLaughlin. I think that's David Malukas coming to the box. Or is that Rosenquist?
Rosenquist. So Rossi as well. All sorts of action.
So Will Power is the leader, but he still needs to stop.
Back at Worldwide Technology Raceway, 57 laps to go. Some split strategy from the Team Penske cars. Up front right now is Will Power, who stayed out on this pit stop cycle. Believe their plan here, everybody is going to have to stop again, even the cars that just pitted. Everybody will have to stop again. Power's going to have some lap traffic and some other cars behind him that will provide a buffer, but he can run hard and hopefully just try to maintain some track position. He won't have to save fuel. He can just run hard to their next stop and then just see how the track position shakes out.
Okay, remember that these guys, Herta and Palou, were a lap down, so they had to actually stay out on that first one anyway to get their wave around and lap back, then come in to top off. I've heard the get home lap for this race was somewhere around 2:01, maybe 2:02, so these guys are definitely good to go.
Back downstairs to Georgia.
Joseph Newgarden still follows his teammate Scott McLaughlin, but when he came in for his pit stop, it was 4 Firestone tires and Shell fuel. I asked Tim Cindric, are you guys going to have to save until the end? And he said a resounding, oh yes. So it's going to be a fuel game for the 2 car.
Okay, so back to what Power is hoping. He is hoping those that stopped cannot make it, but I think that is the plan, though, for all of those that came in on lap 198.
This will be fascinating.
To try to get home, but there's going to be a fuel save involved.
Let's go back and take a look at what happened here with Joseph Newgarden. You can see all of the debris and marbles up high at the exit of turn 2, but miraculously, A, kept it off the fence, and B, look at how quickly IndyCar gets to a yellow flag situation to protect Joseph Newgarden.
And that was the move right there. He had to make an adjustment late in the corner.
Back.
With Alex Palou slowing down a bit.
All clear behind, all clear behind. Go ahead and catch up. Catch up to the pack here.
Well, this is going to be a lot of fun to watch here, guys, because Will Power's got to go 10 tenths here, right? He's going to try to just open up a massive gap. Everybody else will be in some level of fuel save as Tim Cindric looks on.
I like where Palou and Herta are at back there in 7th and 8th. They were a lap down. They couldn't come in. That actually helped them. So they are 4 laps to the good of McLaughlin, Newgarden, Rossi, Rosenquist. They did not lose any track position. They're on the lead laps 7th and 8th, and they have a little more fuel. And that's the championship leader, Palou, back there at 7th. And we know Colton Herta is fast. We watched him carve through the field from his 25th starting position at the beginning of the race. Here we go again from Gateway. Will Power with the early jump on Malukas. McLaughlin running in 3rd, side by side a little further back.
And remember, there's only 8 cars on the lead lap right now, so some of the cars in between are not for position. Like this one right here, you see McLaughlin going around Marcus Armstrong. That one not for position, so you got to be very careful about knowing who you're racing and who's actually a lap down right now.
Newgarden is looking up ahead to Scott Dixon, who is 2 laps down right now because he was on pit lane that just exited when the caution came out.
Not shy about getting high in turn 2 again after what happened, making that work.
But he knows that the sweepers have been at work, so Newgarden has a clean billiard table to work with as several drivers follow in suit. Palou looking pretty racy further back.
Siegel on the high side. That's Connor Daly below. That one not for position. Daly 2 laps down, Siegel 1 lap down. Everybody's on their own program, it seems.
And Will Power just turned the fastest lap of the race by a chunk, a 25.7. McLaughlin, a 25.9, but presumably McLaughlin's going to have to tune it back now and start to save fuel, while Will Power effectively is going to do qualifying laps and try to open up the gap to make one more stop.
So it's interesting listening to the radio on the 3. It doesn't sound like they think they have to make another stop now. The number is sort of changing. You saw McLaughlin kind of come out there like gangbusters on that restart to try and get as far forward as he could. They've settled in here with the fuel setting on the steering wheel. Kyle Moyer has told him, you can go hard, but we're good in this position. Doing it this way, the way we're doing it right now, is better. So I think their plan, they think they can go the rest of the way without having to make another stop.
That had to be the plan. Otherwise, you would not have stopped there and would have done what Power and Malukas did.
Yeah,
they
and Kevin, to be honest, it wasn't at the start of this this kind of cycle. They were expecting to have to make another stop. I think that extended yellow with the track cleanup helped him and maybe some of these other guys too.
But James, right now, McLaughlin looks way too fast for Will Power. It's not like Will Power is just dumping him at a second a lap.
0.2 of a second on that last lap. So if they've got into their rhythm already on the 3,
yeah, that's not enough.
You're sitting pretty.
So to Dylan's point, thinking what the 3 strategy was, that was the safer call. Even if they didn't think they could make it, they knew if you didn't stop, you had to. So you'd be in the same position, needing one more stop, but you would then not need to save fuel.
Side-by-side action still happening further back in the field. That's Rinus VeeKay on the outside of Christian Lundgaard. Those drivers also not on the same lap. As that sun is starting to get fierce in 3 and 4. Not starting to get, continues to be fierce. It's been like that.
Haven't talked about Kyle Kirkwood for a while since that incident early in the race. He's 34 laps down, but still fighting. 22nd right now.
Valuable track time. It's tough as a driver to know that you're not in contention for anything. None of your passes on track mean a position in the race, but it's still, in these early days of the hybrid, so useful to be out on track, learning, testing essentially, and that's what the Andretti Global Group's doing with the 27.
So Tino Ferrucci has been quick, but he had a pit speed penalty, so that took him out of contention. He's a couple of laps down right now in AJ Foyt's number 14 Chevrolet.
Will Power, another fastest lap of the race at 25.6.
Like we talked about it, he needs a 34-second gap to come out in front. He's at 3. But after he pits, he's got all the fuel in the world. Yeah, but he's going to have to pass all those cars. It's always tougher to make the passes in this type of scenario on the racetrack. Track position is so important. You can control the fuel save.
McLaughlin's still running a pretty good pace, 26-second laps, which is about a second faster than what we were seeing during fuel save.
Yeah, it's 0.8 of a second.
Push until we get to the back, and you got to let me know if we're going to catch up, if we're going to be able to get by him or not.
Yeah, 0.8 of a second faster than.
So there goes David Malukas. So he's bailing out, making his last stop. Dylan, the Arctic Wolf car coming to you.
This time.
Yeah, and this is going to be interesting because listening to McLaughlin's radio too, they are now talking maybe about having to do a splash and go. So Will Power will come in as well. This should just be a splash and go and a tire change for Malukas. So this is ever evolving, and we'll try and keep an eye on just who's doing what down here as Malukas completes his service.
This has been fascinating. Power comes down. Clearly the last stop for Malukas and Power. So that's what we know. They don't need to stop. The others, maybe they do, or they need to save big.
Just can't see any scenario where they would have made that last stop had it not been good enough to get to the end.
Well, and now there's hard.
And there's no pressure. Now that Power's bailed, he's got to try to make up an entire pit stop on the racetrack, passing cars in 40 laps. That's going to be nearly impossible to do. Right now, McLaughlin lapping. I mean, at one point it was over half a second faster than Newgarden. He's got a 6.5 second gap. He can really cruise from here.
And there you get a sense of just how far Will Power drops back to a lap down.
So the Power and Malukas camp wanted to stay green. It would just take a caution, you would think, for the McLaughlins, Newgardens, Rossies, and others to make it home.
40 laps to go.
I don't think they need it.
Let's listen here, guys. Some radio from Joe Newgarden.
So the 3's going hard.
Absolutely have to hit that too.
Next car's a 7 at start finish, so we can just do our thing here and see what happens.
Right, so just big save.
Try and make a number. Try and make a number.
Okay, so Hinch, I think we need to walk back a little bit of
They're
this
talking
because
about
Tim
a splash.
Cindric just said that the 3 is going hard. And if that is the case, then McLaughlin, like Dylan Welch just reported, might have to splash.
So you know who's sitting pretty, guys, is Colton Herta in 5th place. Pitted last on lap 203. That 4 extra laps could be huge.
Now those were 4 yellow laps, so it's not as big of a gap, but it's still a nice margin for the Gamebridge driver. We need a scientific calculator today. Standard one's not going to do it.
Our biggest thing is we want to close to wheel because that's the gap. We're going to do a shorter stop with the short fuel. Yeah, I got as fast as I can right now.
Yep,
wow. No, you're doing good. You're doing fine.
So we have 3 strategies with the 3 Team Penske cars. Power is safe on fuel. McLaughlin is going to have to splash, and Newgarden is trying the big save. And then you go back to Herta and Palou. And as I mentioned, being a lap down helped them. They are 4 laps better to the fuel. So when we heard this before, Alex Palou may work his way coming from the back up to the front and finishing on the podium.
So this is pretty important right here. McLaughlin gonna lap Alex Palou. But if Palou's able to make it to the end and McLaughlin has to splash, this battle could revisit itself at the end when McLaughlin pits.
Yeah, Palou, sorry, he doesn't want to fight that at all. He's got a fuel number that he's aiming for, and we've seen it out of the 10 car before. I mean, this could really be shaping up well
You're
for
doing
both
exactly what we need. Don't worry about him.
Herta and Palou.
Confident voice from Barry Wanzer telling Palou, you're doing exactly what we need. Meanwhile, we know Will Power has one mission, wide open.
Oh, 20 to the end. You're doing great. 35 to go.
Everybody says you're doing great.
Everybody's doing great. Everybody's having a great day.
The AutoNation on board with Felix Rosenquist. One of those that likely needs to save, we think, running 4th right here. We need A, B, C, D, E, and F for the strategies as we go to the finish here at Gateway. This race has been fascinating. We thought, needing only 61 laps to go, that those that stopped on 199 had a pretty good chance of making it, yet Alexander Rossi just bailed after 31 laps. So he's the first on that strategy to come in from up front. Scott McLaughlin leads Joseph Newgarden. We think they're doing different things. Then Rosenquist, Herta now in 4th, might make it home. We know Will Power in 5th will get home.
It's weird because if McLaughlin's trying to push and do a splash, Newgarden isn't saving enough. I mean, their lap times are too close. It's just maybe you're trying to have less fuel to put in and have a shorter stop.
I guess, but to Kevin's point, Rossi just pitted after 31 laps for fuel only. It wasn't a handling issue. There was no wing changes. There were no tires.
They were just trying to get it out of the way because it's less fuel you've got to put in to get it to the end, maybe?
Wouldn't you wait in case there was a massive crash on a long yellow?
So this is important. This is now Colton Herta going a lap down to McLaughlin. So McLaughlin has lapped up to 3rd place. Only 3 cars on the lead lap as it stands.
And Newgarden is just 1.1 seconds back, so I think Newgarden's on the push as well. I believe Team Penske, McLaughlin and Newgarden are both going to have to pit.
And look, we know that it's 34, 35 seconds time lost to pit. Right now, a full lap ahead is Scott McLaughlin. That pace that Herta's got, he's pulling out. I feel like he might get that 10-second gap he needs.
So a couple updates here from some of the front runners. Sounds like maybe 15 laps or so for McLaughlin before he's in. They will have to pit again, and it should just be a splash. I don't even expect them to even change tires. And for Colton Herta, they pitted on lap 203, so they'd have to go 57 laps on this stint. Just checked in with the team. They said they can make it from here, so Herta's looking good.
Herta's looking good, but the pace is not great. He just got absolutely dropped by McLaughlin, so that's 25 and a bit seconds, just one lap around this place, so he needs about another 10-second gap, and right now he's probably got 4 of those just in the last 2 laps.
So the question is, how far ahead is Colton Herta over Will Power? Power circulating about a second quicker. There's Power, there's Herta.
That
I
might
think
be the
Will
race
Power
win.
is now in the catbird seat again. Colton Herta's going to have to save to get home if he's trying to stretch it, and Power is just going to go race his way back to the lead.
Yellow and black Gamebridge car is 4 cars in front of Will Power, dealing with some traffic. Much of it is lap traffic. Only 3 are on the lead lap, but we think cars that are a lap down might be effectively leading the race with Herta, Power, and Malukas right now.
0.8 of a second on the last lap was the advantage McLaughlin had over Herta. The problem Herta's got is he's going so slow, he can't keep up with any car in front to try to get an advantage on the fuel side.
But he's got some help from his teammate, Kyle Kirkwood, who is 35 laps down. That's who Will Power is trying to get around right now. And meanwhile, David Malukas, who sits in 5th, is on the same fuel strategy as Will Power.
Well, that's all he does is finish on the podium here, no matter
Here
what
comes.
series it's
Watch
in.
Malukas, big run off of turn 4.
He'll look to the inside on Will Power.
Low,
This could be effectively for the win. Side by side with
Oh!
traffic. They touch, and
Malukas is in
he
the wall.
goes around. Heavy damage for David Malukas. Battling for Will Power for what might have been the win, and it ends in tears for Malukas.
And this is an interesting caution with only 2 cars on the lead lap, McLaughlin and Newgarden.
And this is a significant crash. Can McLaughlin and Newgarden
make it,
be able to coast home? And I am still stunned that those that stopped on 199 needed to pit here in the last 10 laps, like Rosenquist, who
Rossi.
bailed from
Rossi.
3rd, and Rossi a little bit earlier.
Oh, man.
But guys, remember, they can come and pit, and it's just the 2 of them. They can pit and not lose any time.
True.
So
only
if
they
it's
are
gonna
allowed
be
to pit
close-
the first time by.
Saturday night shootout on low fuel and new Firestones between 2 teammates.
A 2-driver race between the Bus Bros for the win with full fuel.
So here's the thing. It really depends how many laps short they were and how long this caution goes. If they don't need to pit, they're not going to pit because you don't want 3rd place being on the same lap as you.
That's true.
And so if this yellow's long enough, they're going to stay out, and it's going to be still old tires.
But if one goes, the other's going to be tempted.
If you're Newgarden, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But wouldn't you be a lap to the good? You'd be the only driver on the lead lap if one of them pits.
No, if one of them pits, he'd just be at the back of the line. Nobody would get the wave around.
It's good to see David Malukas climbing out with the help of the AMR safety team. And what a tough break. It looked kind of like he got pinned down low and washed up as Will Power was going to the high side.
It's hard to know whether it was the Penske car Power going down or the MSR machine of Malukas going up. Comes down, takes a little bit of air away. That was tight.
I think Will Power really pinched David Malukas to the high side.
And knowing that he was going to have the dirty air from, I put that more on Power, to be honest.
Yep.
That's just situational awareness. You know that Malukas is going to pick up some understeer, being that close to Kyle Kirkwood, and really ran him tight.
Is that enough for race control to lean in?
Low. All right.
Has a good hit, too, from Malukas.
Now, keep in mind, Will Power knows what happens to his teammate Joseph Newgarden earlier when he got up into the gray. So he's hugely motivated.
And they're both in. Okay, so they had to come in. That tells me they did not have enough fuel left to do it. They had to come in anyway. It's now a race on pit lane between these 2 crews, and it'll be a shootout.
Do you take tires?
You cannot take tires. There is no time to take tires. The fuel fill will be so short.
I don't know. They've burned a lot of gas
they're doing
here.
it.
Newgarden takes tires.
Oh, here's why you do it, because you're only racing each other, and now you've got the new tire advantage over the cars behind. Herta, Power, Lundqvist.
Look at Newgarden did 5.1. How can the 3-team respond?
They can't. They can't.
How do you do a 5.1 second pit stop?
Because you would need almost no fuel. It was just how quickly can you get 4 Firestones on, and that right there could have been, you're hearing safe fuel. They put in just enough to get him to the end, even with a bit of saving. That's some clever early pull.
But this
from
thing
Tim
is
Cindric.
far from over. They might have won the battle on pit lane, but with 17 to go.
Do what you got to do with tire. Do what you got to do with tire.
Changing 4 Firestones in 5 seconds is lightning fast.
Oh yeah.
Anything under than 6.
Look at the fist bump in here. They know it. Newgarden had that thing in gear too, with the rear spinning in the air.
Well, I hope not.
Oh, he did.
Isn't that a penalty? That's an IMSA, I think.
Yeah, that is an IMSA penalty. But it takes it out of gear, right?
If the fuel hose is in.
It helps your launch.
Let's just watch
here.
it. So the fuel hose is out immediately, so it's all about, oh man, he was rolling the rear tires before he got down. We've definitely seen that before when there's clutch issues.
Chad Gordon is the chief on this program. He took an eye of Caitlin Brown there, inside front. She's one of the superstars on pit lane.
I think she's the fastest inside front, up and down pit lane. Every time I see her go to work, it is crisp, it is swift, it is Penske perfect.
The choreography on those pit stops is remarkable. The reaction times from the fueler, from the tire changers, from the wand, everything has to be absolutely coordinated perfectly, and this group nailed it. Got their guy, Joseph Newgarden, out in front.
Caitlin started 5 years ago as a shop mechanic on the NASCAR program. Got a chance to come over to IndyCar, working as a mechanic, but said, I want to go over the wall. I want to change tires. And she has been doing that for the last couple of seasons.
Okay, so you've got Newgarden and McLaughlin, who both just pit, but they used tires. They were not sticker new tires. I think they were probably out of them at this point. Herta, his tires, he's been out there for 40 laps. Power has a 15-lap advantage tire-wise over Herta. So you've got a couple different things, and you've got Lundqvist, 5th place there, top rookie.
How about Rossi? Pitted on that lap 230, but he's on the lead lap in 6th.
Lundqvist should need to pit. He stopped 5 laps earlier than McLaughlin and Newgarden, so they're just hoping for something really odd, but it's been a nice run for Lundqvist.
He might pit now because he would have had to get his lap back, so pits might be open for lap down cars this time by, so expect to maybe see the 8 of Linus Lundqvist come in. A lot to keep track of up here, guys.
There's Kyle Kirkwood has parts. There was nothing he could do. 30-plus laps down, so they learned what they could, and he'll get out of the way. And also now, lapped cars will be moved out of the way, although many unlapped themselves. And here we see some stoppers. The 2 Juncos Hollander cars were collected early on and lost a lap. That's Romain Grosjean. They've been quick this weekend. Here's Linus Lundqvist, who comes in from 5th. He needed a stop.
Pelot's topping off.
Did not change Firestones, though. Big championship implications of the championship contenders. Everybody but Pato O'Ward is running at the front. Newgarden is not a championship contender. McLaughlin still has an outside chance. Herta is in play. Power is in play. Pelot in 7th. Scott Dixon not on the lead lap, running 14th.
So let's go back to the top of the show, talking about how good at damage limitation Pelot is. Right now, only a 9-point loss as they run. That's pretty good. At one point, that gap was down to less than 20.
Just staying out of trouble. Nothing spectacular out of the driver of the 10 car, just high percentage decision making.
And he's had to avoid a bunch of calamity around him as well.
And remember, Colton Herta crashed in qualifying, but he has been fast all week, and he started 25th, got 6 on the first lap, was up to 10th by the midpoint of the race. And he could go back-to-back after not winning in over 2 years.
Well, he's probably one guy that didn't want to see that yellow because they were saving. They were trying to hope the other 2 couldn't pull out the gap they needed. Now they're on older tires, still probably having to save a little bit of fuel. Dixon has pulled in.
Now, this is where the lap cars move out of the way, James. So this is going to allow Herta, Power, Rossi, You'll see that orange and white Aero McLaren. I'm really curious to see how angry fast Alexander Rossi gets on this restart. His last pit on that lap 230. So he's got tires potentially good enough to go compete with Newgarden and McLaughlin. This is going to be an absolutely wild restart at the front.
It's going to be wild with the top two cars. Almost, I don't want to say in their own race. All these cars are in it, but those two are the only ones on absolutely equal footing.
And don't forget that the driver who has a chance to win this race spun earlier, did not make contact. Lap 196, that wasn't a full spin, but it was a half, and get it back in the way. So Danny Sullivan is going to say, that's not good enough, son.
Next year is the 40th anniversary of the spin and win. I saw Danny on Friday at the Monterey Historics, and he reminded me of that great achievement back in 1985. So, and that was a Team Penske driver, Danny Sullivan, at that time. So Newgarden has a chance to make it happen.
There are 7 on the lead lap. Different levels of tire life. The only one that, well, maybe they all have some fuel concerns because they short filled to put only as much in as they need, but there has to be enough to push hard to the finish. It is going to be a 10-lap sprint on the short track on Saturday night in the Midwest. Nothing better you can ask for. It's Newgarden, it's McLaughlin, Herta, Power, Rossi, Lundqvist in play, and the championship leader, Palou.
Newgarden really slow to bring him to speed as there's a crash with Rossi and Power.
In the back, you see Jack Harvey as well. Connor Daly gets some debris. This might cause a red flag, guys. This might cause a red flag. They don't want to finish this race under caution. You're not going to clean up 3 cars in 9 laps.
IndyCar has time.
Paul, hey, come down the pit lane. Ask him if we can come down the pit lane.
Tim Cindric does not want debris on his tires for his driver, Joseph Newgarden.
Come down pit lane.
Yeah, red flags out either way. That was an incredibly slow start from Joseph Newgarden. You're supposed to maintain pace car speed. I almost feel like he went below pace car speed. But a really, really big blow for Will Power. This is huge for the championship. Alex Palou's lead grows significantly. Rossi on course for one of his best results of the season. This is a tough break.
Boy. Did you see the signal that Will Power just sent to his teammate Joseph Newgarden about that restart?
It was slow, Townsend. Like I said, you're supposed to maintain pace car speed.
So there's time for race control to review that.
There sure is.
On Joseph Newgarden.
There sure is. We'll have to see a replay. It was very slow. It was very late. Now again, leader controls the pace.
McLaughlin was right on his gearbox.
So yeah, I mean, did Rossi just miss time?
I don't know that Newgarden did anything wrong. It looked consistent speed-wise. It was slow, but it was consistent, and the green light came on.
Going late. Go away.
There was a speed adjustment there from Power, so you can't really put that all on Rossi either. We have to watch this a couple times from both cars.
It sounded like Power jumped and then had to get off it.
Just trying to roll green.
I want to watch Will's on board one more time because I'm with you. Again, it's not that it's his fault necessarily, but it sort of explains why Rossi got into the back of him. Somebody checks up because you see the momentum Palou had from behind as well.
I think there was a little bit of checkup, James, from Will Power, but I think Rossi was super jumpy on getting after the throttle.
The question is, why did Power have to check up?
Going late. Go away.
Yeah.
Go.
I want to see an onboard from one of the front 2 cars.
Power got on the throttle because the green light was on.
Power almost got into the back of Herta.
Yeah, it was him checking up to avoid hitting the 26.
It's almost like Will Power was driving the light, not the car in front of him.
Yeah, maybe, but I want to see the onboard from the leader. That's too late. They got to try to see it sooner. Either way, when you have them going that slow, it's tough, and that's a very, very revved up Will Power.
Oh boy.
I think that was a no.
Well, and then
no,
he might have
maybe,
reconsidered
yeah,
that no.
I think he did.
Go ahead, Dylan.
Yeah, and let's get Will's thoughts here. Okay, so that restart, there was a lot going on. What is your take on who did what wrong there?
The leader, whoever was leading, like where you're supposed to go, like in between 3 and 4, he just waited, then he went, he stopped, he went, he stopped, and I knew that was going to happen. As soon as I checked up, because he checked up again, I knew I was going to get pounded. So, man, disappointing. We had such a good car. Like we just get to like the last 10 laps of the last 2 races and have bad luck, but we'll keep fighting and see if we can get the Verizon Chevy up there, and that's pretty tough now from here, but I don't know why. I do not know why they would just keep backing up and going, not going. I do not understand it. Anyway.
Thanks, Will.
Yeah, something does happen at the front of the line that sort of creates the effect. You know, as you said, I mean, let's listen.
It's consistent. Nothing happened at the front of the line. I'm going to put that on Alexander Rossi, a little bit on Will Power being super jumpy on the throttle, and even more so on Alexander Rossi. But in terms of Joseph Newgarden, James, that was steady throttle until the light came on. That was not off and on. There was no big brake dragging, no stabbiness. It was slow, but it was a one-time acceleration.
Yeah, I'd love to see the onboard of Scott McLaughlin's looking forward if we've got it, because that's going to be the final piece to this puzzle, because McLaughlin got right up to the attenuator of Joseph Newgarden. Either way, you just look at the tough break for the 12, for the 7. But yeah, you're right. There was no obvious change in the engine note from Newgarden. It was certainly slow. It was certainly late, but it seemed consistent.
Let's see if we can step in here and grab a word with Tim Cindric, who is just on the radio here and observing. I think he's just getting ready to chat with Joseph here, so we'll give him just a sec to get his headset off. So I know that restart probably not exactly how you want it to go, but ultimately it's got you guys the lead. How tough will it be to hold off McLaughlin here?
Yeah, I mean, it's really unfortunate, obviously, with Will getting caught up in that. That's the last thing we wanted. So, yeah, we'll see how the rest of it plays out. Obviously, the team's done a great job all day and done a great job in the pits, but yeah, it's a shame it ended up that way.
What's the strategy been like for you on top of the box trying to keep up with all of this? And even amongst the team, you guys are on 3 different plans.
Well, I'm hoping he can get a spin and win out of it, but we got a little bit of work to do.
All right, it's tense down here for sure, guys, with 8 laps to go.
Animated Will Power there, discussing with Ron Rzuski.
Remember, he had a coming together with a teammate 3 weeks ago, Scott McLaughlin as well. Watch on the left. Looking to see if we can see a green light. There it is. It's on. What's the rule? Does he have to go immediately? Can anyone else?
Everyone can go once the green light is on.
Which we see Pelot come to the inside. That's allowed.
Yeah, what you can cut. You can't come out of line once the. You can't come out of line until the green light comes on.
Look at that. Pelot escapes again. If he had stayed in line, he is collected in that.
He's probably into the back of whoever was in front, and then collected by Power getting hit.
Yes.
It's that car has been an absolute magnet for trouble. See that?
Here's the thing, guys. Remember that IndyCar has enforced the fade out. They want everybody to be perfectly in line. And so before they started to enforce that, people used to fan out a little bit, and you could but you could jump right on top of the light. As you see in the upper right, the 2 box there, you'll see the green light come on. Rossi's leaving a little bit of space to Power. The green light's on, and I think what's happening is Rossi's just hammered down thinking everybody's going, but Will Power was doing the same thing, and it was slightly different on timing, and when Power checked up, Rossi was going right into the back of him.
The other thing about it is there's a restart zone that the race director lays out to the drivers in the pre-race drivers meeting, and it's really hard to take a track map with a squiggly line on it and compare it to the camera angles we've got. But from what I've seen and from where Joseph accelerated, he was outside the restart zone. He was past it. That's what it looks like, at least from here. Race control has to look at it, but let's take a look and a listen at what's happening here. They touch. They touch. The 3 and the 2 touch. And I know the engine note doesn't change a ton, but can you drag the brakes and
yeah,
it changes?
of course. Yeah, you can drag the brakes a little bit. You're certainly going to do that to keep the turbo up on boost as well. But it'd be a stretch to really put that too much on Joseph Newgarden. But by the way Will Power is so animated down there, we know who he's pointing the finger at for sure.
Yeah,
Here's the thing, my point about the flare-out rule,
right,
how much that's policed, is you can't really go off the light. You have to just drive the car in front of you.
So here's the thing.
Only thing you can do is a massive swerve like Alex Palou did. Let's listen again.
So he's trying to maintain a good distance here. But then, look, that's Joseph slowing down. That's not Scott speeding up. And they actually get into each other. He connects with the attenuator. I do think Joseph slowed down at some point there.
I think it's a stretch to try to put much of that on Newgarden as much as Rossi. I mean, the impact that Rossi had, I mean, he launched off the back of Will Power. It was a horribly mistimed jump.
Let's watch Colton Herta from third.
Going, green. That's big wreck behind you. Back it down easy. It's dirty from Newgarden. He's stop and start. That should be a penalty. It's really dirty. That was unbelievably bad.
Well,
Rob Edwards on the other end.
Colton agrees with you.
The drivers have given their vote. We'll see if race control decides to, even can make a decision on that and adjust anything. I'd be surprised if they did, but there's certainly going to be some conversations.
Colton Herta didn't have any issue running to the back of McLaughlin.
Look, I'm not arguing about whether Rossi's at fault for running into Power. I'm running at why was there a checkup, or I'm talking about why was there a checkup in the first place.
Well, another contender, unfortunately, is out. David Malukas is with Georgia.
Yeah, the previous caution, David Malukas was involved, and he just told me that he's okay. He's been checked and released from the IndyCar medical unit. Was there anything that you would have done differently in that scenario?
Honestly, probably not. I had a run, I set it up, I went down the inside, and, I still need to look over the video to see how it was, but, from my side, I don't know, I just felt like I came in. Yeah, I mean, Power just came by and screamed at me. I mean, I don't even know if he got a penalty there, but I braked, I slowed down, I gave him as much room as I could, other than the curb, and he gave me a tap, and that was kind of it. Like, there's not much else I can do. He's screaming at me. Man, you have a whole second lane you can go up there. So, yeah, I would still continue to do the move. I thought it was a good move. I gave him the space. We slowed down. If he would have just stayed in that second lane, we would have been perfectly fine. We were side by side, and you come down, and you're going to hit me like that. Yeah, it's really unfortunate. We had a really good race, good car. I mean, yeah, it sucks.
I was just going to ask, moving forward to Portland, you had incredible speed all weekend. Are there positives you can take from the weekend?
Yeah. Sorry. It was just such a good weekend for us. I really wanted that result. Yeah, look, it was Toronto was a good result, and this was going to be another good one. Car was really good, and yeah, we'll carry this into Portland. It'll be good.
You can tell just how much this means to David Malukas.
Well, he had a chance for a win. He was one of 3 or 4 or 5 that had a good chance for a win, but he was right in the mix. So last year, here, he had, quote, beef with Scott McLaughlin. McLaughlin did it. Now there's beef with Will Power.
And look, I agree with David Malukas wholeheartedly. I don't think there was anything else that he could have done. The move looked fair. It looked clean. He was right on the white line down low. He can't do anything to get out of the way. So,
again, it's situal awareness from Power's part. he can see where the 27's going. You have to know that that car might move a bit. But even that, I don't think he really did. I think Will just didn't quite give him enough room.
So with all this drama, now the sun falls and Teen Wolf mode comes into play.
We didn't think it was going to be a night race. It is now going to be a night race and a finish.
And we're going to get a restart. Wonder what that one plays out like.
Dylan.
Well, he caught up with Kyle Moyer, who calls strategy for Scott McLaughlin. They'll restart second now. Well, with all of that was going on, it's kind of come down to just you two now, obviously, with all the different strategy and things, and just a heads-up race for the finish here. I'm curious your thoughts, too, on that restart with Joseph and just how it kind of looked from your guys' perspective with you being the car that was right on him.
Well, first off, it's not just the two of us. I think we got the two best cars, yeah, but there's a couple of guys there, you know, with Colton's been quick all the time and stuff, so it's still a challenge, but I do think the team's got the best cars. The restart, hey, he's the leader. He gets to control how he wants to restart, and everybody has to obey that until it says green, you know, and so it's up to Joseph, and that's how he does it, and that's fine, you know. He's the leader, that's why he got it, and that's why he's allowed to do that.
We are into the full nighttime phase of this race now. We did practice last night in nighttime. Were you guys happy with your race cars kind of under these conditions with the track cooling down?
Yeah. Thankfully, we learned a lot last night. So, yeah, we set the car to be able to do this just in case. I mean, I love night races. So, you know, it's great that it's turned into a night race, and it's going to be, you know, these last 8 laps are going to be incredible.
They are for sure. Thanks, Kyle. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch all of these guys up front. The 5 cars on the lead lap here duke it out for the win.
Oh, man. Showdown in St. Louis.
So let's look at those 5, and let's think about the championship as they go to work on Will Power's car. Depending on how long this red is, I don't think there's any way, but you work just in case. But you've got McLaughlin's that came in with a chance at the championship 6th. His point stand now 73 back in 5th. Herta at the moment stands 2nd in the championship, 54 back of Alex Palou running 4th. So those are the championship contenders still in the lead lap. Others, Will Powers took a big hit, not out, 56 back points as they run at the moment. Scott Dixon now 67 back and not on the lead lap, and in fact still 2 laps down, sitting in 13th.
So you brought up a good point earlier, Kev. 5 cars on the lead lap, a few 1 lap down. Would they get a chance to get their laps back? My guess would be no. IndyCar has something called the abandonment of procedures rule. It means that you don't necessarily have to go through the entire normal protocol of a yellow. And so I would imagine they want as many green flag laps as possible, and we don't see any more than 5 cars on the lead lap.
Let's find out what the 26 Cambridge team is thinking with Dylan.
Yeah, and they're with the maybe older tires than these other 2, but what have you guys got for these guys? Maybe been the best car today. Can you take it to the Penske's?
I don't know. We'll see. Obviously, we've come a long way since the start of the race. We've got to be happy with that. We don't do anything to jeopardize that. You know, tire degradation's been real good, so we're actually not concerned on the tire wear. We just need to make sure we have a good, clean last 8 laps here.
All right, thanks, Rob Edwards calling strategy for Colton Herta, and they're looking good right now in that 3rd spot. Had been a hard-fought day for them.
And it's kept him in the championship mix from starting 25th after a crash in qualifying where he might have been a contender at least for the front couple of rows.
But he got there.
Yeah. He drove his way there.
And it's going to be 3rd on this restart, up those 22 spots. And it's been a night filled with drama and unpredictability, but with a fast race car, Colton Herta's got himself right back to where he probably would have qualified.
And here's a look back at how he did it right from the beginning of the race. Absolute full commitment, full bravery, threading the needle on the start, 4 wide in a straightaway.
He didn't stop there. Gets to turn 1, makes a move on Scott Dixon. Takes a breath and goes right back to work on the back straightaway.
Just so comfortable up top early here. He had to be down low in 1 and 2. Using lane 2 and 3 and 4. Great effort. And that was just the beginning. He just kept climbing from there. Really giving his team a thanks for the mistake in qualifying as we see the caution flag has come out, cars are restarted, and we are back rolling.
Caution number 6. This one became a red flag, so this is what happened. Restart coming with 10 to go. Joseph Newgarden in front of Scott McLaughlin. This restart is under review. Then it's Herta, and then Rossi in 5th got into the back of Will Power. Others like Romain Grosjean were collected.
You can hear the lift. You see the flames come out of the engine. That's what happens on a lift. You're supposed to maintain speed. I think it's going to be hard to argue that it was a full speed maintenance there. Here's from Will Power's view one more time. Yeah, it's most egregious from them. And then, yeah, Rossi mistiming it.
Be ready. Be ready. Leader trying to roll. Green, green, green.
Not the first time Rossi's ended up crashed against his start-finish straight.
All right, it's time to go. And for Joseph Newgarden, it has been a frustrating season. A little easier to temper that when you win the Indianapolis 500, but his mindset is always championship. That is not in play. What's at stake for him the rest of the season is simply wins. And by the way, a win tonight would be number 31. That will move him into a tie in the top 10 with legends Paul Tracy, Dario Franchitti, and Elio Castroneves. And here we go again. Is this the final restart? And it's a great jump for Newgarden. The battle is going to be back there for 3rd. Championship leader Palou under attack from his teammate Linus Lundqvist going around the outside.
The rookie looking racing, Lundqvist to the high side. Boy, Newgarden played that one completely different this time. Much higher speed, got an early jump, and clean air for Joe New.
For Palou, that's the last car on the lead lap. There's no need for him to fight anybody. He leaves here with more of a championship lead, but for his teammate Linus Lundqvist, he wants that podium. He had one earlier this year at Barber Motorsports Park. He is all over the 26 of Colin Herta.
There now, he's there.
Side by side, Lundqvist, the rookie, on Herta, and he's got him up to 3rd. Linus Lundqvist might be staking a claim that, hey, I deserve to stay in IndyCar, and he is gapping Colton Herta. There are a lot of questions in silly season as to who's going to be where next year. Linus Lundqvist, who dominated the Indy Next and Indy Lights Championship 2 years ago, wants to solidify his position.
He had his first podium at Barber Motorsports Park earlier in the year, but James, this is prime time to get a pop result as we take another look. Herta trying to defend.
He just had too good of a run off at Two-Towns and nothing Herta could do. He made a stab at defending, but had to do the right thing there. Still a great comeback drive from Colton if he can hang on to a 4th place.
Linus Lundqvist does have a podium this season at Barber, but his second best finish is 12th. He is having the drive of his life tonight.
Understand that the defensive move from Colton Herta is under review from race control as Newgarden gonna see one to go at the line.
4 times a winner at this racetrack already, trying to make it 5 for 9. Not many drivers have that many wins at a racetrack. White flag for Newgarden.
McLaughlin is still pedaling, but Newgarden has him by a big gap.
Danny Sullivan did it back in 1985. We talked about that, the spin and win. Kevin, half a lap to go.
For Joseph Newgarden, this is going to be win number 31 into the top 10 all time. He's the king of corn country. Is he now the master on the mighty Mississippi? 5th time for a win at Worldwide Technology Raceway. Joseph Newgarden has won in St. Louis.
Oh my gosh, that's your guys' win right there. Thank you. Great job. We win that race with you.
We needed that one.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. We deserved that one. You guys have been really good this year.
Win number 2 on the season. The other is the Indianapolis 500.
Rightly thanking the team for the good work in pit lane. That's where the difference was made on that final stop. McLaughlin versus Newgarden, the 3s versus the 2s. and it was the twos that came out in front, and that was all she wrote. McLaughlin Gunaroo finishing second to Joseph on an oval again after leading so much of this race, 67 laps. McLaughlin led, but it's this guy here. He led 17, including the one that matters most.
This checkered flag moment is brought to you by Advance Auto Parts. Newgarden has parked it in victory lane. So we indeed, because of the red flag and cautions, get to finish under the lights and watch the fireworks on the Illinois side of St. Louis.
Here it's going to be fireworks in the Penske truck after this one as well, because Will Power not happy. Scott McLaughlin will be disappointed. And this guy here elated with yet another win at Gateway.
Engineer Luke Mason.
Hey, we gotta go quick. TV, we gotta go quick. I got you.
Alexis Hurley there doing us a favor, trying to move things along, and
I don't see Joseph's teammates running to victory lane right away.
Look, it's
to congratulate them.
There's going to be a handful of pretty upset guys at the end of this one.
It was aggressive, but not uncommon for a restart.
Here's a winner for the 5th time here on the oval, just east of St. Louis Worldwide Technology Raceway. It's Joseph Newgarden. You said over the radio after the checkered flag, we needed that one. Just how badly did you need it?
Well, I think the team needed it. You know, they've done a great job. On the 2 cars specifically, they've done a really good job. They've given me race-winning cars throughout the year, even past Indy, and they haven't materialized. So it's nice to get another one on the board. And the worst part about that is obviously the 12 not making it home. I mean, I hate that happened at the very end. I don't, it kind of, I mean, I watched it on the TV. It kind of looked like the green went out before I went, just momentarily, and it caused a big accordion. So I hate that happened. I mean, it's the last thing you want with 10 to go is to create a mess. So I wasn't trying to do that, but this team did an amazing job. We've had fast cars right from the start. And I'm just really proud to have the PPG car back in victory lane with Team Chevy.
Would you have done anything different on that last restart?
No. I mean, I was trying to go as late as I could at the end of the zone. I've done that a lot, so I wouldn't have done anything different.
Congratulations, celebrate with your team. Joseph Newgarden, a 5-time winner here at Gateway.
Let's now take a look at the Pennzoil moment of the race. We got 2 of them. One, a half spin. I'm still going to count that. It's not a 360, but that is a spin and win.
That's a spin.
Proper spin. And then the PPG number 2 team got it done. 5.1 seconds, the last pit stop to beat Scott McLaughlin.
That was the move. 5-1 for 4 Firestones. Amazing.
Let's hear from Scott McLaughlin, finishing second.
Yeah, and a tough end to a really hard-fought day, and had a look at it there, but ultimately what was the difference for you guys at the end that allowed Joseph to get out?
Oh, look, it was a one-on-one with the teams in the pit stops, and we lost track position, but, that last restart, for some reason, my hybrid didn't work, so I couldn't deploy, so I couldn't get close, but overall, really good night for the Dixon Engine Chevy. I think we stuck it out, obviously pretty chaotic. We led a lot of laps, and we can be proud of the night.
What was the in-race kind of conversation and just kind of siphoning through all of the data and things that you guys were kind of trying to decide on with the strategy in the middle of the race?
It was pretty crazy. Obviously, we were, we were just, working fuel codes, and I was so glad when they actually let me run the gauntlet at the end before that last yellow, but obviously the restart happened, and that was just how it went. But I'm just super proud that we're able to bring a second home. I'm gutted we didn't get the win, obviously, but overall, Team Penske 1-2, can't be upset about that.
Yeah, Penske 1-2, Joseph Newgarden the winner, and Scott McLaughlin comes home second.
Here are the final results. Great day for Linus Lundqvist. Colton Herta stays in the championship mix, and Palou does what he does.
That's just what he does. Only 5 cars on the lead lap. Shows you how fraught this race was. Go down to the second page. Scott Dixon not having a normal Dixon day after that ill-timed yellow.
Tough break for guys like David Malukas and Kyle Kirkwood that had fast race cars, and Malukas especially did such a solid job all night once again.
Dylan, what a day for Linus Lundqvist, too.
Yeah, another podium finish for him. How does this one feel doing it on an oval? That's got to feel nice.
I feel it's absolutely amazing. And, the number 8 Chip Ganassi Racing Honda American Legion was absolutely on rails today. I want to give a big shout out to the American Legion. Obviously, they stuck through me this year, and we've had our ups and downs, but obviously, moments like this make it all worth it. I know that they have a heavy presence with all the Legionnaires here, so very happy to be able to stand on the podium, our second for the year. I love these moments. Just got to do more of them, and hopefully one day we'll be on the top step.
Another strong run for the rookie. Linus Lundqvist is third today.
This was a fascinating race, and we're hearing there is a penalty on who?
Colton Herta
for
the block.
So Palou is going to move up to 4th.
So where does that put Herta in the championship?
So he's going to move back one spot to the last car on the lead lap, so it's not devastating, but I'm a little surprised Linus was able to get the pass done, but it's all the Penske guys' days today.
Something for us to analyze and argue about all week, James.
There is a lot to unpack before we get to Portland coming up next week. This is fun.
There's almost too much to unpack in that one. We weren't sure what kind of race we were going to get here in Gateway, but man, it was an absolute banger of a night.
Caged up rage, 3-week layoff. A lot that played out today.
For James Hinchcliffe, Townsend Bell, Dylan Welch, Georgia Henneberry, and Kevin Lee, thanks for joining us for the NTT IndyCar Series Bommarito Automotive Group 500. Have a good night.